All right. Happy New Year, Cougar Nation. Welcome to the Wise Guys, the largest BYU sports live stream show in the whole world, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. I'm Dave McCann. This is Blaine Fowler. So we're the Wise Guys, ready to wrap up 2024.
I can't believe we're at the end of 2024. I know another year's behind us, but what a year 2024 has been. We're going to review the year a little bit here tonight, which is really, really fun. And we appreciate all of you that have been with us for this year. Hey, even if you just started joining us in the last month, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
For those of you that have been around for the entire, how many years has it been now?
Well, I think we're marching into our third.
Yes, starting to enter our third year. Yeah. So we're really grateful to all of you that have hung around and spread the news to your friends. And we're going to ask you, like we do every week, to subscribe to our free email at wiseguys.com. And if you do that, you can watch all of our past content. You can go back for 2 years and watch a bunch of things, including our interviews that we've done with some of the greatest guest lists that any podcast ever originated from the state of Utah has ever had. And it's fun stuff there. I also love you to hit the free subscribe button on your YouTube channel. If you're listening in or watching tonight on the YouTube channel, or you're watching it on YouTube tomorrow, make sure you subscribe to the Wise Guys.
The stream's cruising. I just saw a post from Bill in the South Caribbean.
Already?
On a ship.
Beaumont, Texas is in. We got people on Ridgecrest, California. Billings, Montana's in the house.
Saw the Philippines
West
already.
Valley's here. Castle Pines, Colorado, the highest golf course I've ever played on.
Vancouver, Washington.
But normally Saratoga Springs. So
St. George. Hey, let us know where
Nebraska
you're at.
in the house.
Tell
Vancouver,
us how you
Washington.
feel about that football game. It was incredible there at the Alamo Bowl. We got a whole bunch of good stuff. Want to remind you, Wise Guys is thrilled to have Brady Plus as our title sponsor. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers and service, repairs. They've got 150 distribution facilities across the country, really taking over the world, especially North America. 6,000 employees, and the president is a BYU grad and a good friend of ours. And we appreciate Brady Plus supporting the Wise Guys.
Yeah, and we're thrilled that the Deseret News has joined up with us this year as our distribution partner. Deseret News and Deseret.com, Utah's newspaper since 1850. You can watch for all of our content on their social media sites as we serve Cougar Nation all over the world. And we're thrilled. Brady Plus and Deseret News. How about that?
That's a powerful duo.
Yeah.
There's Andrew from Orlando, Florida. Dave Simmons watching from Provo Canyon. All the way
Jim
up Provo
Ness
Canyon.
is in the house from Vegas. Our good friend Jim.
Good to have Vegas there. There's Salem, Utah. You know what?
Jim, what's the name of the Italian restaurant that you always take Dave and I to?
Mia.
Is it Pasta Mia?
Pasta Mia. Let's just keep that between us.
Okay, we're not telling anybody about
it. We don't need lines down there.
Because Jim knows Vegas, and that is the place that he takes us to.
Cougar Nation is on fire after that bowl game. In addition to letting us know there's Puget Sound. In addition, San Antonio's in the house. Mike, hope you were at the game. He said it was a great game to be at.
Yeah.
Good to have you on the Wise Guys. So let us know. Let me tell you what we have coming on tonight. The Wise Guys top 10 BYU sports stories of 2024. We're going to roll them out, and you can let us know if you agree. It's been such an amazing year, and we're going to go 10 to number 1.
That's how we do it.
Talk about it as we go through. You and I have seen the list. Yeah. We've worked the list, and we think you'll like the list. Well, you might not agree with it.
You kind of originated the list, and you sent it to me, and here's how much you and I think alike. I only wanted you to change 2 things, 1 position.
Yep, we just flipped
That was
them.
it. We just flipped those 2, and we were good to go. That's how close we think. So
yeah, scary, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the big stories is that BYU absolutely rocked Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. We're going to talk about what we liked from that game, maybe what we didn't like, what's next. As August comes up, like what we'll look forward, we're going to look back, we're going to look forward. But let's just say, what a game. That far exceeded my expectations. I expected them to win, but that was dominating.
It was.
And was that fun?
It was something else. The Cougars land a big fish in the transfer portal straight from the University of Utah. That went down this afternoon. We'll talk about that. Cary, Idaho in the house. Aloha. Aaron from Hawaii. Good to have you there.
Wish
Clay
we were there
from
with
South
Aaron.
Carolina. We do wish we were there.
I'd take South Carolina too, Clay.
Look,
honestly.
we're jumping all over North America tonight. Awesome.
So, hey, men's volleyball coach Shawn Olmstead is going to join us. He's going to be right here, right next to me, ahead of the Cougars' kickoff of a brand new season at the Smith Fieldhouse. We'll look forward, and he'll kind of give us a preview of what we're going to look forward to. Last year at this time we talked to him, and he mentioned they were talented and young, so be a little bit more experienced this year. But man, if you haven't been to a volleyball game in the Smith Fieldhouse, you're missing out.
Yeah.
It is an unbelievable experience.
They got a fun schedule too coming up, and he's cool anyway because he's got a cool vibe. He's got a volleyball vibe.
Yeah,
and that's different from other people's vibes.
Which is like it's chill. It's chill. He's very. Don't get me wrong. He's very intense in games.
Yeah,
but he's chill, and that's what I love about him.
On the stream, I see Dallas is in. So is Washington. Hello from Orem, Larry. Good to have you with us.
Pensacola, Florida. There you go.
Sweet.
Nick Smith.
Yeah, people are engaged.
They're from all over.
Ready
Love
to
it.
go. Hey, we're excited to offer an ad-free podcast experience, and you can start listening to our podcast without any of those ads or interruptions. It's going to cost $8 a month, or a yearly subscription that breaks out to about $7 a month, $2 or less per episode. Possible to add the ad-free version to Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get a special link to add your favorite podcast app so you can listen just like you do now, just about everywhere, but without the ads. You can go to wiseguys.supercast.com, choose your subscription plan, follow the steps to set up your ad-free feed. We're going to be on the air all year long and like forever. So if you want to jump in that now and not have the bugaboo of ads, this is your ticket.
Right. We just put it in the stream, wiseguys.supercast.com, ad-free podcast. So if you're on live with us now, great. But if you're one of those, and there's lots, thousands, that download it, put their earbuds in, and go on the bike and get going and listen to it. Why listen to ads, right? So get your ad-free podcast, and there's how you sign up for that.
Tucson, Arizona. Neil is on the stream. Let's keep them coming. There's Jonathan from Henderson, Nevada. And we jump into some headlines, and let's begin with the story of the day. What's the story of the day? If you haven't been on social media, you may not know, but it's not about the Alamo Bowl. That's coming up in a minute.
It's the story of the month of December.
Yeah, Keanu Tanavasa, defensive tackle, formerly of the University of Utah, 19-game starter, is transferring to BYU. He announced it today on his social media platforms. Played in 24 games with the Utes, just 7 this season due to some injury. But he comes with 2 years of eligibility. And where does BYU need help? In the interior defensive line group because of Mangelson leaving and Nelson leaving. How big is this?
He's a huge human being, and it's huge. This was one of the top priorities for BYU in the offseason, was to replenish that defensive line. That was so good. I mean, that defensive line, that Colorado game, was it not evident how good that front four was? BYU hardly blitzed. Like, when I said they hardly blitzed, they didn't bring more than 4 or 5 in that game. They didn't have to go to big-time secondary blitz. Now, keep in mind, they would bring a strong safety once in a while and drop somebody out. They disguised what they did, and pretty much with 4-man pressure.
Yeah.
They were all over Shedeur Sanders in that game. That D-line was phenomenal, and they all graduate. And so what is BYU going to do? Well, they've already addressed it in a big, big way, and they did have some good depth there, but the 4 starters graduated. First thing in depth was to get Clegg, who just back from his mission, who was a big-time rush end, coming out of high school, had interest from everybody, signed with the Utes, went on his mission, came home a couple weeks ago and said, yeah, BYU's my
change of heart.
And he's going to be phenomenal. And he's home early enough that he will contribute. He could start next year at DN. And they needed a couple inside guys. They picked up a defensive tackle from the Southern Utah University who was phenomenal and getting look from everybody. And now they add Tanavasa. Mm-hmm. Do you know who BYU was competing with to get Tanavasa? It was down to BYU, Georgia, or Alabama.
Yeah,
and
those guys are pretty good. That's awesome.
When have we ever said that before? Yeah, it was down to Georgia, Alabama, and BYU, and
especially for a big boy,
chose BYU.
Because those schools throw all kinds of stuff at kids, and BYU, that's a culture buy for Tanavasa.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's compensated fairly in the NIL world, but this was a culture move.
This is where he wants to be.
Yeah.
Like, actually, when it came down to those 3 schools, I thought, man, we're getting him. Because he's going to be most comfortable at BYU. Culturally, it's going to be a great fit for him. He's going to have the most fun playing football. And you know what? He can get anywhere he wants to go from BYU just as much as he can from Georgia and Alabama.
Absolutely.
So why not be closer to home and be with friends and be in a culture that you love to be in? So I think he made a great decision, and I think it's going to be really good for BYU.
When all this went down, I thought, hey, how did he do against the Cougs?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
So I went and looked up the stats. He had 4 tackles, and he was in on a tackle for loss, had a pass breakup in that game on November 9th, which BYU won 22-21. I wonder where that will be in the top 10 stories of the year coming up here in just a few. It's going to be in there, I can tell you that. So he was in there. He's a guy you want to have. He's just a guy you want to have.
He's a force. He's a guy that keeps people off your linebackers. He's a block eater. He takes up so much attention when people offensive lines try to double down to the second level. So at the point of attack, say Tanavasa's playing at D tackle, a guard and a tackle or a guard and a center will come off and they'll double team him for a period of time. And then the guard will kind of push him down and set him up for the center to kind of take him one-on-one. And then that guard will make his way down to the linebacker. So they combo down to the linebackers. When Tanavasa's at D tackle, you don't combo down. You stay on a double team. As soon as the second guy leaves him, he blows you up. And so all of a sudden you got a backer behind him that runs free and makes a bunch of tackles unabated to the running back. And that's
kind of like what we saw.
He's Kairos Tonga.
Yeah.
And think about how good he played and how he's doing right now. He can be like Kairos Tonga.
It gets us ready for Portland State. When's that?
Yeah.
It's just around the corner, isn't it? We've got a few things before then.
Yeah. How about some other portal ads to talk about here? As South Jordan checks in, Orem. Okay, we love Orem.
Let's see, Huntsville, Utah. There's Mike on the stream, and Cache Valley, Paul checking in. Great bowl win. Let the offseason hype begin. We're all about it. We are all about it.
Let's talk about other portal. We talk about Tanavasa. Carson Ryan, the tight end, who was a Stanford, Utah, now BYU guy. I think he's going to really help at that position. Andrew Gentry. Don't sleep on this guy. Offensive tackle, big, 6'7", 325-pound, prototypical offensive tackle. Was at Michigan. He could very well find himself as one of the leaders of that offensive line, and what a get he is for BYU. Tassili Akana, big linebacker, former 4-star recruit. He's coming from University of Texas. And then Hunter Clegg, the defensive end. To me, and I mentioned him just a minute ago, people are going to be surprised. People forget about our guys that were big-time recruits, even the ones that BYU got. And then they go off on their mission for a couple years, and everybody forgets, and they come back and they go, where did this guy come from? Like, why is this guy so good? He would have been one of those guys, except for he didn't sign with BYU out of high school. He signed with the University of Utah, came back and said, I'm going to BYU. He's the real deal. Like, he reminds me of Ryan Denny in kind of his build and the way he plays. And Ryan Denny played 9 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, and he was a starter for the Buffalo Bills. Like, this defensive line is shaping up to be awesome next year, and that was one big concern for me.
There's Howard from Anchorage, Alaska on the stream. Farmington, Utah. Greg, what a time to be a Coug fan. Indeed, it's just the momentum's rolling and just going to get built up stronger. That's for sure. In fact, I wrote about that at Deseret.com tonight. You can read that article when you get a chance. Jeff Hansen talked a lot about the guys you just mentioned on our show last week. That you can listen to at wiseguys.com. Hey, there's South Bend, Indiana, on the Wise Guys live stream tonight. That might be a first for us.
Yeah, South Bend. I don't know if we've had South Bend. I want to know if he's rooting for Notre Dame in the college football playoff.
He probably is.
I would.
It seems like
if I was
he's from there.
Yeah.
Before we get to that Alamo Bowl, the Cougar Board question of the week is on topic here, so let's jump on it.
Sure.
If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, I know most of you are. Largest online community of BYU fans, thousands of posts every day. Some are nice to us, and some aren't so nice to us. That's okay. All right. We have thick skin. This question comes from Black Diamond Bay, one of their insider subscribers. All right, Blaine, what needs to be the postseason priorities for us to see a repeat performance next season? Will there be strong leaders ready to step in and fill the shoes of guys like Connor Pay and Tyler Batty, as Leesburg, Florida checks in on the stream? All right, what do you say?
My big concern, D-line, was I thought the number one priority, and then to try to replenish the offensive line. Yeah. And I think they've already in the transfer portal and have filled some of those needs. And then on the offensive line, add to Gentry. Southern Utah also had an offensive lineman who had pass protected over 750 plays in the last 3 years, pass plays, without giving up a single sack. And he was being recruited by everybody in the West, and he chose BYU. So I feel like they've addressed those big time issues. And let's address, like, you talk about Connor Pay, hard to replace his leadership. That's the thing. But you know who was phenomenal when Connor Pay was out for a few weeks?
The freshman?
Bruce Mitchell. Was really, really good. So much so that when Connor came back, they said, we can't take this guy out of the starting lineup, so let's move him over to guard. And he played at guard. He started in that bowl game at guard, right alongside Connor Pay. So I think the center position is in solid hands with Bruce Mitchell next year. You add Gentry to that offensive line, who replaces Keim, who graduated. Caleb Etienne might come back with his JC role. So we'll see, but I think we're in good shape. And then
while we're on that, Maury Bamba could come back.
Yeah,
Darius Lassiter could come back. Those three were all impact players.
They were JC guys.
And the ruling is in their favor. It just depends on if they want to.
And couldn't Tanavasa get another year? He has 2. Could he get another? I think he might be able to. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But we'll see how that
every
all plays
day
out.
is an adventure in the court
and I think,
system.
And you talk about Batty. Batty was so good in that bowl game. So good in that bowl game. And he's going to be missed. And again, his leadership, like this motor that he runs with. But I love Clegg as a guy that can step in and help fill that void. That's already a great find. And if you put Tanavasa right next to him, you're going to be in good shape. So
Al, let's see. Adam's on the stream, checking in from San Antonio. Still don't have my voice back. What a game. It looked like Cougar Nation was well represented. I know Colorado had a ton of fans. Spencer Linton, our reporter down on the scene, was thinking 55-45.
Yeah,
but BYU had everything
60,
to yell about.
Maybe even 60-40, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have anything to cheer about except for 2 plays. If they were watching the ESPN broadcast, they might think they're ahead the whole time.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Or ABC broadcast. But it was fun to watch on TV, the fans in blue all showing out as they do. Let's talk about that Alamo Bowl. And on the stream, we'll try to get your comments in. Give us your 3-word definition of the joy you experienced watching the Alamo Bowl while we talk about it. And as they come in, we'll try and get as many mentioned on the air as we can and on our podcast.
Mariko Hedquist says, hey, huge win versus Colorado. I loved how down the D and special teams were.
Yeah.
Number 1 priority is to retain Jay Hill, K-Pop, and Justin Anna. Done.
Right.
They just re-signed Jay. He's fine. So and
K-Pop and Anna, those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, not planning on going anywhere. So
when this is a place you want to be at, it's okay to stay.
Yeah.
You know, unless sometimes offers come where you go, you know what, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they're just like, you know, I kind of like where I work, where I live. And we don't have the TV numbers yet, Glenn, from the Philippines. And as soon as we do, we'll pass them on. We're probably not going to get them tonight, but I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be the biggest, most watched BYU sporting event in the history of the school.
Yep. Saturday
night at the Alamo Bowl. You know, previous it was 3.7 for BYU Washington in 2013 at the Fight Hunger Bowl.
Right.
This is going to blow past that one.
Well,
way past, and thank Colorado for that. They got a draw.
I did feel bad for the announcers because the announcers came into the game with this entire prep, and you know I've been there where you prep for what you think is going to happen, but you owe it to yourself to prep for if the opposite happens, right? And it seemed to me like they had such.
We do that. We have to do that.
Yeah, it seems to me like they had such confidence that Colorado was going to win this game and that the stars were going to really shine, that all the elements that they planned for the show were around those guys. And when BYU came out and just literally, it's like they took them behind is that old saying? I took them behind the woodshed and they just beat the crap out of them, right? From the first minute of the game on. Like Colorado was never in it. And I think they were dumbfounded. They didn't have enough to talk about with BYU, and by golly, they were going to get the material they had prepared on Colorado.
Yeah, they did. All right, here's some 3-word responses from Joel. Still smiling today.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice, Joel. That kicks us off. That's a good one. And Mariko, happy, excited, elated.
Yeah, those are good words. Good words. And they're all good stuff.
36-14, BYU wins the Alamo Bowl. They finished 11-2, 9 Power 4 wins. That's the most in program history. Number 17 in the college football rankings today. They should finish in the top 15. They're going to move ahead of Miami, who got beat in front of them.
Yeah, do they even do one this week, or do they wait till after?
I think they wait. Yeah. I think there's just one more, and that's at the end. And then the next one we see is in August when it's time to reboot. But if you're in the top 15 to finish here with as many guys you have coming back, you should be in the top 20 going into next season. And that's the difference between BYU being, what were they, 52 this year?
Yeah.
Climbed as high as 6. But when you start in the teens, even 15, 14, when you start there and then you win your first 3 games or whatever, you stay there.
Yeah. Look, Penn State's the perfect example of this. And I like Ruth's 3 words, wow, wow, and all capitals, wow, right? One more question from Kay Porter. Will BYU still keep Gary Anderson on staff? Gary loves what he's doing. I've had conversations with him. He doesn't have an interest in coming back full-time into coaching. He loves that he's working in the consulting role with BYU. He's out there pretty much every day and at every game now. His knowledge and his ability to teach technique to the D-line. Did you see how good that D-line was this year?
That was great.
Sione Poa is a great recruiter and technician, but Gary Anderson just takes, he's a guru. He's one of the best that's ever coached that position. And I'm pretty certain his plan is to be around as long as Kalani wants him around. And I know that Kalani wants him around. So, and Jay wants him around.
Yeah,
so.
We all want him around. Here's Lori's 3-word description of the Alamo Bowl: pure Cougar dominance.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
And David's got adrenaline rush continues. Those are his three words. Let's talk about what we liked in that game as we look forward to your 3-word descriptions of how you felt about that one. And we'll share it with everybody on our podcast and live stream. Defensively, we start there because they were so good. Hold Colorado to 14 points. They came in averaging 34.
Yeah, when you hold a team with stars on the offensive side, like Colorado has, to 20 points below their season average, I agree with Ruth on that one. Wow, wow, wow. That was a defensive performance for the ages. And then they held Colorado to 210 yards of total offense and a total of 2 yards rushing. Now, mind you, there's 46 yards in sacks. But still, they could not get the run game going at all, and that just put so much pressure on Shedeur Sanders. They sacked him 4 times in this game.
Yeah, and they were, they were glorious. Yeah. Taggart came in and dropped him and set the tone, and then they just came after him.
And then they intercepted him twice. That's due to pressure, in my opinion. Evan Johnson had a pick, Isaiah Glasker. That's 22 interceptions this season. BYU led the nation in interceptions with 22. That's crazy. And a lot of it is because of pressure. And BYU didn't rack up a bazillion sacks, but they were always in the face of the quarterback. They played a bunch of quarterbacks that get the ball out if they get pressure and don't get sacked. But it resulted, sometimes you and I were talking to Brian Logan the other day, and he's like, I would much rather have a team that pressures the quarterback and they throw up picks, because that's more game-changing than sacks. So if you had to pick one or the other, would you rather have 22 picks or lead the nation in sacks?
22 picks gets you the ball.
Me too. Yeah. I want the ball, and that's who BYU was this year. And
okay, hang on. We got to keep up on these.
Yeah, you got to keep up.
Greg's got elation, domination, exhilaration. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What's Weston got?
Let's go here. Weston says future looks awesome.
Those are his 3 words.
Paul Lacey says special teams, special.
Here, how about Colorado didn't win?
That's a good one.
There's 3.
Glenn says I was most impressed with the tackling. So his is 1 word, tackling.
So Biff says Colorado didn't win. Ryan's got they found out.
Yeah, they did. Remember when Klein, what was that saying? They about to find out.
They don't know. They about to find out.
They don't know what they about to find out, is what Kalani would say.
That was so good.
What I love is Gary Anderson mentioned in a post game to some of the media that Colorado had 20 plays in the first half, and BYU gave him 17 different looks pre-snap on 20 snaps. So they only repeated a pre-snap alignment 3 times in the entire first half. Colorado didn't know where anybody was, where they were coming from, what they were going to do. BYU was unbelievably well prepared in that football game, and it showed out on the field. So
looks like Wetham's got a most complete game. 3 words. Yeah. Special teams, let's talk about that for a moment. Parker Kingston returns a punt for a touchdown. He almost got another one. He was fantastic. And did you notice how Colorado was so poor on their punt coverage? Yeah. They weren't anywhere near Parker. And when you get a guy a chance to make 3 or 4 steps, man, he can burn you, and he burned them.
You got to give BYU credit. They're jammers. So there's gunners on the offense, the guys that run down, the first 2 guys that run down and try to get there as quick as they can. And then on defense, you put some guys that we call jammers out there that are their responsibility is to block the gunners, which isn't an easy thing to do in the open field because they have 2-way go anywhere they want to go. BYU's jammers did a phenomenal job in this game and allowed Parker to catch the ball cleanly, and he did great things. And how about an onside kick executed to perfection? Will Farron kicks it perfect. Ethan Slade catches it on the fly, and they convert an onside kick.
Some of their stuff they did didn't work. But what I loved is it was a bowl game, and they came to win. They're going to try everything. Yeah. Bohannon had a handoff, and he turned into a pass. He threw a pick, but he did it. Kingston had a volley, ran to his left, and tight end's wide open. He throws it down there, and he drops it.
Should have been a touch.
But they tried it. I mean, they tried everything.
And so the defense was even off balance a little bit. BYU had some opportunities to score that they blew.
Yeah.
This should have been. Guys, the game wasn't as close as the score.
It could have been 50 to nothing.
BYU dominated, and it was pretty fun. So, Will Farron, what can we say more about Will Farron?
The best thing is he's a junior.
He's the best kicker in the country,
yeah.
Period. His mentality, his range, his accuracy. How many in a row?
16.
16 field goals in a row. 24 out of 27.
Now think about that for a second. 16. Some were in the wind. Some were in the freezing cold. Some were with the game on the line in Salt Lake City. Two were from 50-some yards in the Alamo Bowl on national TV. It just drilled all of them.
I can't remember which NFL game I was watching last night, but to win the game, it was a 54-yard field goal, and it came up 5 yards short.
And it could have put the Falcons in the playoffs, or at least in the hunt still, and instead.
And if that was Will Farron, not only would it have been good, it would have been 3/4 of the way up the net.
Yeah, let's not tell anybody because we need him back.
We need him one more year. Right? We need him another. He's the best kicker in America, and he is former Davis Dart. Let's never forget he's a former Davis Dart, where my kids all went to school.
Here's Rose's 3 words. Feels so good.
I like that.
Send us your 3-word description on the Alamo Bowl. Let's talk about the offense. 180 yards rushing. We're talking about what we like right now, and we'll talk about what we didn't like.
4.3 yards a carry.
And some of they were a little bit above that, and then the last couple of drives they got conservative, and then whenever you put a knee down, you lose a few yards, and sometimes that affects your average. But 4.3, LJ had 17 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sione Moa had 4 for 25 and a touchdown, and BYU was able to do. Remember last week we were talking about keys to the game, and what Kansas did to Colorado is they ran the ball, they controlled time of possession, they forced turnovers. They didn't turn it over as much as BYU did, but the recipe was there, and time of possession, BYU dominated.
Yeah, 11. They almost had, think about it, a quarter is 15 minutes. They had the ball 11 minutes and 52 seconds more than Colorado in that game. That is something. Here's the thing that is also, we look at these numbers, the 210 yards of total offense and 2 yards rushing for Colorado. Keep in mind, in the last drive of the game for Colorado where they went down and scored, BYU had 2s and 3s in the game. And Kalani's philosophy, right or wrong, I like it, because Kalani's philosophy is this. I have to develop young guys. Jay Hill believes that. Aaron Roderick believes that. So when the game is in hand, we're going to put guys out there, and they're going to make plays, and they're going to make mistakes. And they're going to learn from those mistakes. And when it's their turn to play next year or the year after, they're going to be ready to go. And if we never play them and we never give them a chance to make a mistake, and we only play our starters, we're not going to develop ourselves for the future. And that's been his philosophy all along. People are like, oh, he takes his foot off the gas, or he's too kind to the other team.
And we've complained about that.
Yeah, we're like, scores matter, right? Style points for college football playoff. Yeah. And so keep in mind that 80 yards of the 210 they had came in that last drive when BYU was letting their guys get experience. And Colorado still had all of their starters in the game.
Yep.
And to Deion's credit, he said that Shadur and Travis were going to play.
They played.
He played them the whole game.
That surprised us.
Yeah, it really surprised us. Because Miami's quarterback went out and played in the first half.
Yeah.
And then sat down in a game that was tight. And then Iowa State ends up winning in the last seconds of that game. That is not what Colorado did. Tremendous respect for Deion for having his kids play.
And it was gutsy, but they had insurance policies, which might be the new way of dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it was good too, because then ABC wouldn't have had anything to talk about if those 2 guys came out of the game.
Yeah,
be like a silent movie.
Just watch the game. Just watch the game. Natural sound.
Glenn's 3 words: coming out party. How about Robert? BYWTHYU.
Yeah. Ty Johnson says 3 explosive runs, and then in parentheses. I guess if they're in parentheses, doesn't count.
No, that gets them free.
But he just gives us clarification by LJ. So he's talking about LJ Martin. 3 explosive runs.
Aaron says program-changing win.
Yeah. And by the way, Mariko says, I also agree with Kalani's philosophy on developing young bucks when the game is in hand.
Yeah, it's going to work out.
People get so concerned, like, we need to beat them by 100. And Kalani's like, I just want to beat people. And I want to develop guys. And you know what? When he's 11-2 with that philosophy, I have a hard time arguing with it. And when Deion Sanders after the game says, if I'm going to get my, what do you say? We got our butts beat. He goes, I'm going to get my butt beat. I want it to be by that guy because I love the guy and I respect the guy. Yeah. And the way he coaches and the way he teaches. So there you go. Diggs says statement number 11.
Went 11-2. Yeah. 11 statements.
Aaron Lynn says program-changing win.
Yeah. All right.
It was big time. It was big time.
Here's what we didn't like. We didn't like the 3 interceptions. 2 from Retzlaff, 1 from Bohannon. Jake struggled, 12 of 21, 2 picks, 151 yards. The good news is Colorado didn't score any points on BYU's turnovers.
Right.
And BYU scored 10 on theirs.
Yeah.
So the mistakes prevented a blowout, even worse, but it didn't hurt BYU.
Well, think about this. One of BYU's mistakes gave Colorado a really short field. And they got the ball down inside the 10. And what did BYU do? They sacked the quarterback for a 25-yard loss and put him out of field goal range, and they missed a field goal. So they didn't even give up points on a deep turnover. So that credit BYU's defense for that. And BYU's offense, even though they made some mistakes and gave away points by not capitalizing, like drop ball on that wide receiver pass by the tight end on that one, and the interception by Bohannon that if it's thrown a little deeper is probably a touchdown. These are points that BYU left on the board. In spite of that, the offense seemed to have things in hand. They were winning the line of scrimmage and running the football and possessing the ball.
We only saw, did we see 1 punt?
Yeah, and it's crazy. We're looking at this game and going, BYU won by 20 and they scored in the 30s. We go, but they should have scored in the mid 40s or 50. Which is crazy. It's crazy that I'm even saying that.
It's because that's how we think. That's how we think.
Yeah.
But that's how fans think. Like, and it's so hard sometimes to just stop and live in the moment. We've talked about it a lot, encouraging folks, especially with all that's going on. It's just enjoy this. This has been a special 2024.
Adam Streeter says, I don't know that the shuffle pass into was on Jake. Interception was on Jake. Yeah. I'm excited for Jake's opportunity to get even better than this, obviously. We were talking about that after the game. It's like, it is on Jake, but that's the kind of play, and he hasn't had a play like that. That's the kind of play that you make that mistake once and then you don't ever make it again. Because you teach the quarterback, when you run a shuffle pass, remember in your mind, it's a pass, even though it's behind the line of scrimmage. You don't have to try to complete it. If you come out and he's got guys around him, throw it right at his feet into the ground.
Yeah.
Just throw it right at his feet. It's just an incomplete. And there's a receiver in the area, so it's not grounding. Just go back to the line of scrimmage and play the next play. I guarantee you the next time they have a shuffle pass where it's all crowded in there, he just throws the ball at the guy's feet. Because Jake does tend to learn from the mistakes that he makes. He's getting better. If he makes as much progress from last year to this year and then do it again now from this year until next, he'll be an All-American quarterback next year.
Cougars going to be tough to beat. Yeah. Mark from Sandy, BYU fan since the late 60s. Very excited to see where BYU goes from here. Go Cougs. Good to have you on the live stream tonight. Mark and everybody else, remember, we're looking for your 3-word description of the joy you felt at the Alamo Bowl. We didn't like the penalties, 9 for 80 yards. A couple of those helped Colorado move down the field for their they only scored twice, and penalties helped them. Seemed like both times. And we
15-yarders on that one score on the real scoring drive. Right?
And we didn't like that. We're sensitive to game announcers because we know how hard it is to call games.
We usually don't like to pick on them.
But the angst was widespread, and so we didn't like that either. We thought they could have been, they could have played that game closer to the 50. And stayed in the middle. It's hard to do sometimes, but those two are really good announcers. It just seemed like the game plan, and sometimes it's the producer's plan, sometimes it's everyone else's plan. The game plan was this is about Dion and those 2 kids, and that's it. Everybody else is just getting in the way, and so that's kind of how it rolled out.
And I think we know that you can't always blame the announcers because sometimes there's a storyline that a producer's going, this is what everybody wants to see. This is what we're covering. We've produced all of these elements for this on these guys, right? And by the way, Michael Zimmerman is saying smile, smile, smile. That's his 3 words. But and so what's happening is you're even in your own mind going, man, we need to start talking more about BYU. And in your headset, the producer's saying, hey, we're going to show this graphic on Shador. And so the graphic comes up and you just have to go through the graphic, right? Or they put something else up about the Heisman Trophy. And you just kind of cover what the producers putting out there. So part of the blame could be the producers had an agenda that they were certain to get in.
Vern was proud to be a BYU alum and enjoyed watching the game here in Italy. So it's good to have Italy on the stream here tonight. Michael, smile, smile, smile. Those are his 3 words. How about David? Classiest fans anywhere.
Nice.
And that's,
there you go, Dave.
That's true. We've met with Cougar Nation from coast to coast, and they're always classy.
Adam Streeter's 3 words are linebackers coming back.
Nice.
Yeah, BYU's 3 starting backers are back, and that is fun.
Lisa's still pinching myself. It was that kind of a night. Now let's revisit Blaine's keys to beating the Buffaloes. As you know, he rolls them out the week before every game, and then we like to hold him accountable. As Russell says, shock, awe, wonder. That's his 3 words.
Nice.
Good to have you in from Covina, California. So, number 1, you said finish drives with touchdowns.
And they had 3 TDs and 3 field goals. And the 3 field goals were long. I felt like you get inside the 20, you got to score, which they pretty much did in this ball game. So I'm going to give them a single plus on that one.
Okay. Number 2, as let's see, Nick says game of games, and Jeff says substance over bling.
Oh, there you go.
And that's a nice one. Good job, Jeff. Number 2, you said limit big plays over the top. They only had 2 big plays all game.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. And here's the one thing that I love. After the one big play, which was a 56-yard play where he made people look ridiculous, BYU did run him down and get him out of bounds, and guess what? They didn't score.
Nope.
They had 2 deep incursions into BYU's territory. The BYU turned him away, which I thought was great. So, and then he did get one over the top where he scored. And so, you know what? When you're playing against Travis Hunter, and you really only give up, because the one where they tackled him and turned him back doesn't count. So they had 1 play over the top from a guy that gets 2 or 3 a game.
And it really wasn't over the top, right?
Yeah,
they
he
hit
caught
him
it
and then he took off and ran.
He looked amazing on that play.
Yeah, he was good. Mark says, remember the Alamo. Nice.
Yeah, we're giving a plus.
You get a plus on that. And then number 3, you said win the turnover margin. That was 3-2 Colorado. BYU turned it over 3.
But remember, BYU, they don't count the onside kick as a turnover.
Right.
So it was 3-3 in my mind.
In your mind because of the onside?
And so I'm just giving them a wash on that one.
Okay, give it a wash. And they didn't score on their turnovers.
No, yeah.
So that's
we're giving them a wash.
There.
So they're 2 pluses and a wash.
So far, the Big 12 is 4-2 in bowls because we're putting the second loss on the Pac-12 because that's what Colorado was representing. So the Cougs win. Iowa State beat Miami. Kansas State beat Rutgers. West Virginia lost to Memphis. Mountaineers will be in Provo in the fall. Texas Tech lost to Arkansas. BYU will be in Lubbock next year. TCU beat Louisiana. The Cougs host the Horned Frogs. Baylor and LSU tomorrow in the Texas Bowl, and Arizona State and Texas play Wednesday in the Peach Bowl. I'll be honest, I'm cheering for Sark.
Yeah,
I'm going for Texas all in on that.
You're not doing conference affiliation.
Not with Arizona State. I don't feel it.
It's interesting. I saw a lot of articles and things independent of BYU where they're going, well, it's pretty obvious the 2 best teams in the league now for the Big 12. You know, they had that whole tiebreaker system, but teams didn't play each other. The 2 best teams in that league are Arizona State and BYU. Arizona State, who's in the college football playoff, and BYU, who lost to Arizona State on the road and came up 1 play short. And those are the 2 best teams in the Big 12. That's what that bowl game did for BYU. Is it's kind of look. Everybody now is saying, yeah, it's a toss-up between Arizona State and BYU, but those are clearly the 2 best teams in that league.
Yeah, for sure.
And with everybody coming back next year for BYU, that with a number of folks BYU is coming back, the BYU is going to be ranked in the top 15. Remember the Alamo.
That's a good one. Russell has got mascot opted out. Remember Ralphie came out and didn't feel like he wanted to be there.
He limped.
He limped
onto the field. They got him to run a little bit. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's not a good sign.
That did not. They played like Ralphie.
When Ralphie's not feeling good, it's not good. It's bad karma.
There are some big games. We're just, by the way, moments away from our top 10 sports stories of 2024. Before we get to that, and Shawn Olmstead's coming up at the top of the hour, BYU men's volleyball coach. This is an awesome Wise Guys tonight. Love having the stream as busy as it is. Fiesta Bowl tomorrow night. It's going to be Boise State against Penn State.
Who you got?
Chance for Boise State to show that their Heisman guy should have gotten a Heisman.
Yeah, Genty.
And also that they're legit in this group. But I think Penn State is going to be too big for him to run on. That's at 5:30 on ESPN. I think Penn State's going to win that.
I think they are too. Yeah. I think Penn State's going to be just too physical defensively for them.
Wednesday, 3 big games on New Year's Day. The Peach Bowl, Arizona State, Texas at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on ESPN. Who do you got? I'm
going to take Texas because I think their defense is elite. But I think Scadaboo is going to have a good game.
Yeah.
And people are going to go, man, this dude is legit. As good as Texas is, he still was effective, and I think Texas wins this.
I don't love Arizona State, but they earned their way to where they are. So, Rose Bowl, Oregon, Ohio State. That's at 3 on Wednesday on ESPN. I'm going Oregon.
I got the Ducks too. We're on the same page.
Yeah. And then Georgia, Notre Dame, Wednesday night. That's the nightcap. Georgia doesn't have their starting quarterback. They're good. They're always good.
You and I had such a good experience back at Notre Dame. A lot of people don't like them. You and I like them.
Yeah.
I think they're a complete. I think there have been years where I feel like they're overrated going into this thing. I actually think they're good this year. I got Notre Dame over Georgia.
It's going to be interesting because the semifinals are January 9th and 10th. And then the championship's not till January 20th.
Right.
So it's going to be a while before college football's over. And that's
who's going to win the whole
different.
thing?
I just think Oregon seems to be too fast.
Is it going to be an Oregon? Could it be an Oregon-Texas final, or do they play in the semis? I can't even remember how the bracket sets up.
I don't know how that sets up, but I think Oregon. Oregon squeaked past Boise State, but it was a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But if Ohio State gets past Oregon, then maybe Ohio State, the way they took care of Tennessee, was impressive.
I'm with you. I think Oregon wins the whole thing.
All right, here we go. We got 20 minutes before Shawn Olmstead joins us. So that's the perfect amount of time to reveal the Wise Guys' top 10 sports stories of 2024. This has been an amazing year. And when you think back, so much has happened. So long ago, the basketball team stunned the Big 12, went to the big dance. Then they had coaching changes, and then things happen. And, man, that was a lifetime ago because of how big the fall has been. But we've come up with the top 10 that the Wise Guys believe are the top 10 sports stories for BYU of 2024. And as we roll them out, you let us know what you think on our live stream.
And I'm sure there's some others that are near and dear to your heart, too. So
we don't have a drum roll, but we'll just say.
We're going to start with number 10. And we're going to work our way to number 1. That's how we do our top 5 for everybody that's on the show. We'll do that with Shawn later. So, Olympians in Paris, 2024. Kenneth Rooks, one of the best stories of the year with his silver medal in the steeplechase coming from nowhere. And then how about Connor Mance, Clayton Young in the marathon finishing 8th and 9th. That's the fastest U.S. times in Olympic history. 2 BYU guys were in the fastest times in Olympic history.
And they're so good. They're just good young guys. We've interviewed them.
Yes.
They're just great representatives of their sport, of their school, and the church, and then they're so fast.
It's so fun.
They're just great.
And if you just meet them out on the street and introduce them, you'd be like, that guy's an Olympic? Like,
yeah, really?
We were in some place, and Connor was there, and I said to somebody, can you pick out the best athlete in this building? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm going, how about that guy right there? And they go, no. And I go, yeah, he is the best athlete
that's him.
In the building. That's Connor Mance. Like, oh, man, that's right.
We were bummed out for Jimmer, as he's been on our show a lot, and with the buildup of him and going to win a medal in the 3-on-3 competition for the first time for the United States, and he got hurt the first game, and the Americans bowed out. And we'll get Jimmer back on the show and talk about how he's doing. But he was one of the big stories, if not among the biggest, especially for 3-on-3 basketball for Team USA. Yeah. So he went down, and then his team went down. So that's number 10, our Olympians in Paris 2024. The 9th top BYU sports story of 2024, according to the Wise Guys, is Lauren Gustin becoming the all-time rebound leader at BYU. Honorable mention, AP All-American, 504 rebounds last season. That's the 4th most in NCAA history. 30 double-doubles, which was number 1 in the country. 1,694 career rebounds, moved past Tina Gunn. Who thought in their lifetime they would ever see someone move past Tina Gunn?
Never, right?
And 1,666 career points, 4-time All-Conference, first-team selection. Lauren Gustin is the number 9 of the top 10 BYU sports stories of 2024.
And the biggest thing was that she came back because she went out into the portal and everybody wanted her. The best rebounder in college basketball, one of the best in college basketball history. And she decided to come back and be a leader on that team. Love Lauren Gustin and what she did.
Amber Whiting's going to be on the show next week, and she might argue that she should be higher or lower on the list than 9. But we've got her at 9 because there's 8 really, really good ones ahead.
Yeah.
All right, number 8.
Number 8 is BYU basketball. Now, remember, we're talking about this year. Basketball started this year at the beginning of the year, and now it's going again here at the end of the year. So there might be more than one basketball related. But number 8 is BYU basketball reaches the NCAA tournament as a 6th seed.
A 6th seed coming out of the Big 12. A
single-digit seed that had no expectations to compete in the Big 12 last year. And they got eliminated by 11 seed Duquesne in the first round, 71-67. But how about the fact that they had a 23-win season, and during that season they upset Kansas 76-68 in Lawrence, Kansas on February 27th. They finished 10-8 in their first year in the Big 12. Nobody saw that coming. And kudos to that BYU basketball team. That's our number 8. Did you expect them to be there?
No. And we called the games, and we were surprised. Mark Pope did a great job. The guys did a great job. They had some huge wins at home. The Marriott Center was as loud as we ever remembered it. And then they went on the road and did their thing to go 10-8 in the Big 12, the toughest basketball league in the country, with guys like Noah Waterman and a size that was challenged in every game. Now, this year they went out and got taller. But last year, Foose was undermanned in every single game, and he just fought. Yeah. And they got to the show, the big dance, worthy of number 8. Here comes number 7 of the top 10 stories in 2024. The men's and women's cross-country teams sweep the national championships. First sweep in 20 years. The men won the title. The women won the title. They also dominated the Big 12 and won those titles. Ed Eyestone and Diljit Taylor were national coaches of the year. Now, thousands and thousands of fans don't line up to watch cross-country events. They're kind of hard to follow because they're running all over the place. But when you think of programs that we see running around town all the time because they're out getting
they're always
their
out
miles
running, yeah.
But when you see these two clubs defeat everybody and win national titles, it's just stunning.
And when it's something that hasn't been done at any university for 20 years, like, it has to be a top 10 story. And maybe it should have been higher than 7.
Yeah, there were so many things.
You and I were going back and forth on that one. There's just so many good things that happened this last year. But that one had to be in the top 10. And congrats out to Ed and Diljit, who we love and have been on the show and are great to us. That was an amazing accomplishment and an amazing year for BYU sports. So they come in at number 7. So,
number 6.
Yeah, number 6.
These next few explain kind of why they're number 7.
Right. Mark Pope leaves for Kentucky on April 12th. Like, did any of us think that was coming down? When that Kentucky job came open, and now we know that Mark, that maybe was his dream job, but all the talk had been like, no, this is my dream job now. We knew that the only job that might be able to lure him away is the Kentucky job where he played his collegiate years with Rick Pitino there, won a national championship there. But when that job opened up, his name wasn't even being talked about.
No, there were too many other names.
He was wasn't the first choice. He wasn't the second choice. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Mark Pope's on his way to be the head coach at Kentucky.
Now, there's some significance there, and that Kentucky is clearly one of the top 3 basketball programs
of all time.
Of all time.
Yes.
And a BYU coach left the job at BYU to go to be the head coach at that place.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Sarkisian is the head coach of Texas. And played football at BYU.
Legendary
Andy
program.
Reid played at BYU. He's the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Are there any bigger products than these names we're throwing out?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Of what BYU folks have been able to do. So Mark Pope, that's number 6. Number 5, Kevin Young is hired as the new basketball coach on April 16th, so 4 days later, and he leaves the job as associate head coach of the Phoenix Suns. Now, just as strange as it might sound that a BYU coach would leave for Kentucky, an NBA coach destined for a head NBA job leaves the NBA to become the head coach at BYU.
And really behind the scenes, he basically turned down the New Jersey Nets head job for significantly more money, millions of dollars more a year, and came to BYU. And the question he asked back to the people that were hesitant to even approach him was, what makes you think that being a head coach in the NBA was my dream?
Right.
Like, maybe this is my dream. And he's been phenomenal, and we're going to talk about some of the other stories that tie into that. But, to leave what he left, and nobody thought that there was a chance to get him, he's come in and he's already put his imprint on this university and on the program with the recruits he's brought in. Big 12 season starts tomorrow, so we'll see. But, wow, the recruiting has gone to a different level with Coach Kevin Young as the new head basketball coach.
And that imprint you're talking about is number 4.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Yeah, well, this because it ties right in.
Yeah.
Cougars signed Yegor Demin and Cannon Catchings. We haven't even gotten to the other guy. He's a little higher on the list, but Jaeger Demon, if he had been ranked or rated as a North American recruit, because they are ranked, he wasn't ranked because he was playing in a professional organization, Real Madrid, and is from Moscow.
Yeah.
He would have been one of the top 3 recruits in all of North America, and he decides to come to BYU. Travis Hansen, pivotal in the recruiting of him. I think anytime somebody gets somebody of that caliber, there's guys like Kevin Durant that are involved, and Chris Paul, and all these folks that Kevin's been involved with. But that was huge. And then Cannon Catchings, he was committed to Purdue, who just had played in the national championship game, and he's from Indiana, and decommits from Purdue and commits to BYU. These are both projected first-round draft picks and NBA prospects. And then you add Kaba Keita from the transfer portal, who killed BYU in their game against Utah last year. And he comes into the fold. He was in the transfer portal, and everybody wanted him. And maybe the biggest recruiting coup of all was getting Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell, and Dallin Hall to stay and to come back to BYU. Richie Saunders was on a recruiting visit at Kentucky when he decided, I think I should come back to BYU.
That's all number 4. That's a lot. That's a loaded number 4. That's why it is number 4. Here's number 3 in our top 10 stories of 2024. BYU goes 11-2 in their second year in the Big 12. And in that 11-2 are some sub-stories. Darius Lassiter's game-winning touchdown to beat Oklahoma State 38-35.
I still can't believe that happened.
In a moment where I'm not quite sure LaVell Edwards Stadium has been louder since Miami. It's been a long, long time. Will Ferrin kicked a field goal to beat Utah 22-21 with like 3 seconds left. The Cougars climb as high as number 6 in the college football playoff rankings. Number 6. And Keelan Marion's an All-American kickoff returner. That is number 3.
Yeah,
that is a year.
That's number 3. That's something. And Doug Harvickson on the chat says, hey, Blaine and Dave, Davis Weber County boys, Will Ferrin, Davis Dart, Parker Kingston, Roy Royal, they did a great job in the game against Colorado. The Fowlers are still honorary Davis County.
There you go.
There we are. We lived there for 29 years. Our kids all went to Davis High. That's why Will Ferrin's my boy.
Now, Weston and Kent are questioning where the cross-country championships, why at number 7, why combined? But we're hoping that these others are explaining why.
And we acknowledged the 2 national championships, and that's something that hasn't happened in 20 years, maybe should have been higher.
Yeah.
That's maybe the one that we're second-guessing ourselves on most. Do we put it up in the top 5? Do we have it like... So we had to go with it. We acknowledge that maybe we underranked those 2 national championships.
But we're standing firm on our top 10.
We're going to stand on it.
And here's number 2.
Yeah, so let's go to number 2. Number 17, BYU routes. Number 23, Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, 36-14. First Power 4 bowl game. So they're playing against Power 4 opponent in a Power 4 game. Richest bowl game in program history. Each team got $8.25 million in payout.
Now, before that, the Cotton Bowl was BYU's best. That was $2 million.
Right. It was huge.
8.25.
When the ratings come out, it will be the most watched BYU game in history because it was over air on ABC. All eyeballs were on Shadur Sanders and the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. The announcers' eyeballs were on Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders.
And we don't care. We don't care so much that they were there to watch Colorado because while they were watching Colorado, they saw BYU destroy them.
BYU's really good. Yeah. Defense was dominant in this game. Yeah. Absolutely dominant. And it sets this team up for a preseason ranking going into 2025, which if they can start the season in the top 15, if they had started the season in the top 15 this year, I'm convinced they'd be in the college football playoff right now. But because they started so far outside, they were just waiting for them to lose the game and say, see, that's what we thought, right? Where Penn State that started at number 6, they lose the game, they dropped to number 8. They lost against an unranked team with a losing record. Didn't matter, right? And so, and it's part of it's the brand, Penn State, but it also is where they start. And so this bowl game launches them into next year with who they have coming back and some of these portal transfers already, where I believe they start the season ranked in the top 15th and maybe the favorite to win the Big 12. Different position for BYU.
Much different. Picked 11th last year.
But that's what this bowl game did. And now everyone, all the national pundits are saying, clearly BYU should have been in the college football playoff. They're one of the 2 best teams in the Big 12. And the ACC is looking like crap and on and on and on. So it started a conversation, which I think is great. So that's why we have that one at number 2.
So our number 1 sports story of 2024 is a kid who hasn't even played at BYU yet. In fact, he's just visited a few times. But when A.J. DeBonsa signed to play for the Cougars on December 10th is when he announced he actually signed a few weeks earlier. BYU got the number 1 draft pick, or number 1 prep recruit in the country, the projected number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft, a kid with no tie to BYU, no tie to the church, saw BYU as better than Kansas, North Carolina, and Alabama, his finalists, to develop him to go to the NBA, and also to be a place where in his short time in college he could have a good experience. And he picked BYU as the best spot for him. And BYU got so much pub that day alone, and then the days that followed.
He announced it on First Take
on ESPN more than anything BYU basketball has ever done. There was Jimmermania, there was the Ainge years, but in one day, this DeBonsa announcement and the coverage it got trumped all of it, and it took BYU to a different place.
Yeah.
His impact will be seen once as he gets here and how productive they are, but also with the players that are going to come here because he came here.
There's already another top 5 recruit that's out there that's saying, yeah, I really have to maybe include BYU in my list right now, because imagine me going to play with AJ. Maybe that's where I should be going, and now he's in the mix. I mean, that's what happens. Now, if he comes and he is the number 1 pick the following year, and Yegor gets drafted in the top 5, which he's projected to be right now, and Cannon continues to develop, maybe he's a first-round draft pick, now the pump is primed, and people start coming. And when we say AJ, he was the number 1 recruit in the United States. He's the number 1 recruit in the world.
Right.
Like, if they didn't have the rule that you had to come play at least 1 year of college, he would be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft this year. Think about that. BYU's never had a guy coming out of high school like that. That's that, you know. Now, he's got to develop. He's got to keep getting better. But
got to stay healthy. Yeah, all those things have to do.
All these things have to happen. But it just changes the game for BYU recruiting, and it changes the narrative. I hear national guys now who don't know anything about the honor code saying, "Well, it makes perfect sense. Like if you're going to be a top basketball player, I mean, that honor code is the way you should be living anyhow. Yeah. And you don't want any distractions. You want to go focus on your craft." And it's like all of a sudden national pundits are going, yeah, this honor code's a great thing for BYU recruiting.
And we got a glimpse of what life's going to be like a tiny bit as shortly after the announcement, it gets announced that BYU is scheduled to play Villanova at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I think it's November 3rd. It'll be on national TV. And that's what this does to the program. And there's going to be a whole bunch more of these marquee matchups because people want to see him, and he happens to be wearing a BYU jersey, so then they have to see BYU basketball. Yeah. And that gives the other guys on the roster a chance to be seen as well. Who doesn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah, it's fun stuff, and it really does change the game. And
so AJ is the number 1 sports story at BYU. He came in, boy, you come in December and you jump to number 1.
People may
that's
say
how
to
crazy
us,
that
how
was.
do you have the number 1 sports story be a guy that's not even there?
I know it.
But the trajectory of what's going on has just changed with him signing here. So
our top stories for Wise Guys, by the way, we added Brady Plus as a title sponsor. That's huge for us.
We're going to have to ask Shawn when he comes on the show if he's ever had the overall number 1 volleyball recruit in the world commit.
Yeah. We're going to ask him what his top 5 stories are.
Because we might, I don't know if we have in volleyball.
He's thinking about it already.
So Shawn's already in the green room. So Shawn, think about that. If we ever had the number 1 overall recruit in the world come play here for us. But we'll ask you when you come on the air. So
Deseret News joined us as a distributor. That's huge for us. Sends Wise Guys all over the world.
Yeah, Brady Plus and Des News. Is there any other stories this year other than
those are big for us?
Those are big for us. So we surpassed 5,000 followers on our Facebook page, which is really fun. And we have viewers every week that are coming in on the live stream from 5 of the 7 continents. Yeah. Which is really, really cool.
And Italy, new place tonight for us.
Yeah, which is so
sweet.
fun that Italy's in the house. And we're getting, north, well, we talk about exposures, like through all of our different platforms. We're consistently over 1 million, sometimes approaching 2 million on any given month on exposures with the Wise Guys.
That's how we roll.
Which is what we hoped for, right? We hoped there was that much interest out there around the world. And what we found out is that there is. Yeah. And that Cougar Nation is awesome.
So that's our top 10. Just imagine what 2025 is going to be like when we roll that out 12 months from now. Yep. And the adventures we're going to have between now and then. Our guest tonight already established himself as among the coolest guests we've ever had during his last visit. But with the new season ready to get started, he's agreed to return. Our pleasure to welcome back to the Wise Guys men's volleyball head coach, Shawn Olmstead. There's a vibe that's inherent in volleyball that we talked about last time. You can feel it, right? There's a vibe of coolness that you have.
Always.
We talked about it. I'm sure you weren't listening when you were coming up, but we were talking about you. We were like, Shawn's like, we know how intense he is, like when we're in the middle of a match, right? Mm-hmm. But we're like, but he's chill when he's not. Which we always talk about that. You step over that line, you got to put your face on, you got to be able to flick that switch, and you come off. Nobody does that better than you do. Being like intense. I don't think I want to go down and talk to Shawn right now because we're in the middle of the game. I'm going to go give Shawn a hug after the game because he's so chill.
There we go.
Right?
Hey,
always.
Hey, developing news here on the Wise Guys. Joe Zolito from Antarctica is on the stream.
Jeez,
what?
That takes us to a new place.
No way.
We believe that's verified because who would come on and say they're from Antarctica?
We
and not
wondered
be
if we
from
could
Antarctica.
ever get Antarctica in on the stream. And so there you go. That's 6.
That's 6. All right.
I'm pretty bummed.
I'm trying to move
sweet.
over some things because I brought gifts.
You brought stuff. It's the holidays.
I brought a bunch of stuff.
Oh
Let's
gosh.
put that up there and then we'll get into it. Later because
I can leave it. I can leave it here. I just don't want.
No. We like it. It looks great.
Some of the
especially since you're going to leave it. That's the best of all.
Oh my gosh! And Shawn knows I will wear whatever swag he gives me.
There we go. I got a bunch.
Look, wait.
And we got some logos that no other teams have.
All right, we'll have a fashion show.
Every coach wants that right now.
Oh,
it's
baby.
the old.
That's awesome. All right, we'll have a fashion show here in just a bit.
We're gonna do a whole fashion show.
The state of Utah we put into a logo. So
okay, we're gonna talk about this in just a second.
Our billing of you being our coolest guest had nothing to do with you bringing guests. We want you that was honest.
You know what though?
Legit.
That also is right up here.
But now you just move straight up.
There we go.
Before we dive into volleyball, what did you think of the Alamo Bowl?
Oh, unreal. I mean, it's super impressive with just the way that our guys came out, because those bowl games, they can go so many different ways.
Yeah.
And the guys just, despite all the other storylines all over the place, that team came out, they were ready to go to compete, against the Heisman winner, against quote unquote the number 1 or 2, whatever we want to rank them right now, draft picks and the Deion Sanders and the prime time and the storylines. It was impressive that our guys came out. But not only, if you just watched, and it's funny because I've seen things here and there on whatever, social media platform, and everyone says the same thing. Like, did you guys not see in the first 10 minutes, BYU was faster, stronger, more physical, I mean, top to bottom. And so I was super excited for Kalani and those guys. They've had an unbelievable season, and but they've also had some tough moments, and so for them to be able to celebrate in that moment and on that stage, that was pretty cool.
I know you and Kalani are good friends, and there is a camaraderie amongst coaches there. What's that like? The coaches, they support each other pretty well inside of BYU's program, right?
They really do. Anytime I've ever needed anything, I have no fear that I can text Kalani at any time. If I need a favor here or there, I can do that with any of the coaches, and they do the same with me. And so, if by chance I need ticket, usually I wouldn't hit up those guys for tickets because I'll go to Santiago.
There's other guys.
I mean? But there's been moments where, hey, could you meet this person? Could you do this? We meet once a month, as head coaches, where it's just the head coaches only with our administration. So that's a really great meeting where everybody's there. Kalani's there, Young's there, everybody's there, and we just get to talk about anything, the current events, things going on, any new legislation, which is, constantly
hard to keep up with, right?
And so it's a really cool vibe with all the coaches.
Do you ever, we noticed AJ DeBanza, we're talking about him. He was down on the sideline at a football game, a sold-out house. The crowd's like, AJ. Do you ever have volleyball recruits that you take to the games and you get them down on the field?
We're down on the field. AJ was probably down there a little longer than the volleyball players, and that's all right. No, but we do. We take them down there before every game. We're down there all the way, and we kind of bring them out when they run out of the tunnel, know? And then everybody's got to get off the field. But no, all the coaches have the ability to do that. That's really important. That's great for the recruits. AJ just might get that sideline pass over
a little longer,
a little longer, which, hey, but yeah, it's a great vibe amongst everybody.
You're in your 14th year as head coach. You won a couple of national championships here as a player. So you're the perfect guy to answer this question. And it's our last football question for you. But when football is riding high, what is the vibe over the rest of the sports? Does it when football's doing good, do you feel the lift?
Yeah, of course. But here's what I'm going to say in full support of football. If you're not a football fan as a coach at BYU and not wanting them to succeed in every way, shape, and form, you need to, have a come to something type of meeting. I mean, really, you do, because the success of those guys is many times a sign of success of an athletic department, of the support from administration, of support from upper campus. And so, to answer that, yes, we're riding high. Everyone's enjoying it. And there is a vibe. There's an energy, especially in this community.
Right.
But, and we need them. We want them. That goes in line with so many of what are the missions of BYU. Are kind of hand in hand as it relates to the success of the football program.
So I want to ask you one.
I think Kalani's got the tough. Look at Kalani. I've said this. I don't know if I've shared this on air. Years ago, I thought I kind of came up with this theory, and I started sharing it when Bronco was around, and I just said, you guys, that person right there, Bronco, now Kalani, you're the most criticized member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Amen to that.
And that's a lot of members.
Right. Yeah.
Millions of members. We're talking around the world.
And some of it's friendly fire, right? Members of the church who might cheer for other teams.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, we all sit and watch the game and go, what are we doing?
Right.
Is that the response when there's a temple announced at General Conference? Highly unlikely.
It's not.
So
why are we doing a temple there? That's crazy.
No one's going to. So Kalani, because he is viewed by all the members, he is known, unfortunately it comes down on him. And I'll share this maybe Bronco will get mad at me, but he won't. I remember when I got hired, he brought me over when I became the women's head coach. Kalani hit me up, or Bronco did, excuse me. Hey, come over, let me help you get acclimated to this position. Okay. And he told me that, I don't know if he thought that I'd get the same line, not even close, but he said, hey, I went to my ward when he was up in Highland near where I live. Yeah. I think he might've been on the border of Alpine. He's like, hey, I went to my bishop and said, I'm going to show up every Sunday. I'll be there. And I'm going to show up when they're welcoming, what is it called? The opening, welcome, is it called opening exercises?
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying, but I'm going to walk in right then with my family. And then 10 minutes before church is up, I'm going to get up, no matter my calling, and I'm going to go round up my family, and we're out of here. But I just want to let you know that, hey, we're here. Whatever calling you want. Bronco was awesome. But I never had to do that. But it's just kind of interesting to see that, and he shared some other stories with me that I wouldn't feel comfortable, making known, just about moments and spots where people wanted to discuss what he did on 4th down and 19 at the Boise State football game.
Yeah, it's definitely a spotlight show. You mentioned that Kevin's now been part of these meetings. Kevin Young, the basketball coach, has been part of the meetings, and now you've had some interaction with him. We were just talking about the impact that having this kind of a recruit on campus. What's your take on Kevin and his style so far? And then as a backup, does getting the #1 overall recruit in basketball in the world impact other sports' ability to recruit? And
yeah, of course. I mean, I went recruiting that weekend. I was in LA, and the amount of people that talked to me about what the heck is going on over there.
What are you guys doing?
It was really something like I've never experienced.
Really?
Yeah, no doubt. And so I'll be honest, believe it or not, I know we interact. Kevin's been at all those meetings. He's never missed one. I've honestly just felt like I didn't want to go bother it. No one's bothering him, but I haven't gone over and
he should be asking you for advice. You know how to work around all of this.
You're Shawn Olmstead. You have 2 rings.
He's doing an amazing job, and I've just kind of stayed back. So all the other coaches, though, we're best friends because we've been around and working together through so many things.
He'll eventually be part of it.
100%.
You know what you need to do? You need to get his kids to come watch one of your games. And they'll be hooked forever.
They'll be in love with it.
They've got it.
I asked you were over in the green room to think about this. Have you ever signed the #1 overall? Have you ever had to come the number 1 overall recruit in the country come
Yeah,
play?
so I was thinking about that, and you could probably look at, you really could make a case for Taylor Sander.
I was thinking
Yeah,
Taylor.
that's who we were thinking of.
Okay,
Yeah.
and he came into our gym. He hit me up about 2 months ago. Hey, Shawn, I need to get back in the gym because he signed a really good contract indoor. He's been on the beach the last 4 years.
Yeah.
He came back 4 or 5, came back indoor, and he hit me up. Said, yeah, do you want to come play or coach? Yeah, I just want to do whatever. So the first couple of days he was just kind of hanging out, but he was there every day. And then finally he's like, hey, you okay if I get some reps? And it was just like he didn't skip a beat, you know. And
He's so good.
you could really, you could put Taylor Sander in that
category.
And he brought that. They played for a national championship.
Oh, well, went to the Olympics.
And he went to the Olympics. He won a bronze medal. But here at BYU, he was the player of the year.
Yeah.
He took that team to a national championship against Irvine out in Pauley Pavilion in UCLA.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, he unbelievable. So he would be comparative, in the sport.
BYU men's volleyball coach Shawn Olmstead's on
But
the
I will
Wise
say,
Guys.
I will say, I'm going to give my 2 cents. I agree with the guy that said national championships for cross country should have been higher. I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Listen,
I gotta say it.
Sean,
I gotta say it.
we were second gear, and Ed's been my friend for almost 40 years. So I'm like, was there like Dave and I were like, well, should this be higher? Should that be? And I'm thinking, Ed's going to kill me on this one, right?
What would you put?
And we love Diljit, too.
I think it's a combination of what this year has been for that sport. And go back to the Olympics. Look at Connor and Clayton.
And we had both of those
the
stories.
ambassadors they've been.
Right.
And then you go in after that where they were getting all this pub as the 2 Americans. Then Ed goes and wins. Not only that, he's at the Olympics. He's coaching those guys. Then he goes and wins a national championship. Diljit does the same. They do it together. But not only that, Diljit now has a pro team.
Yeah.
That has Olympians. She's brought in Olympians from outside.
And
that
they're
have
training
no time.
here,
They're
right?
here every day. I see them. Yes.
Yeah.
And now Ed's starting to get some of those athletes. So it's kind of like what it's created alone. It's pretty darn cool. I mean, all of your things were amazing.
That's crazy
also,
how good a
I
year
wanna
this
put
was,
Chase
right?
Roberts coming back. I got to put it in
Listen,
the top 10.
Yeah, that's true.
we're going to ask you for your top 5.
I know.
at the end of this.
Chase is big.
I was
Chase
so
was
happy
great.
for that
It's,
kid.
and I think it's such a good move for
He
him.
is the best representative of the church, of this team, of what it means to be just an outstanding person, an outstanding young man. And so that should have been in the top 10.
All right, I'm glad.
All right, my bad.
You're
Okay,
good.
no, that's what we want. We've been asking people to give us, and people started
They
to
can
question.
get after us.
And I have to say, coming into it, we're like, 2 national championships in cross country maybe should be in there. Now, here's the thing. If they go out and they win 2 national championships in track and field this spring, we have no choice but to put it number 1.
You got
no
got
choice.
it. You
Unless
got it.
basketball wins the national championship.
We don't know what AJ's.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who
AJ,
really knows?
A year from now, BYU basketball might be undefeated.
It'd be crazy.
Shawn Olmstead's on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News on the stream. Mark, listening from the beach in Hawaii. Great show as always.
See?
That sets
That's
the tone
chill.
Hey,
for us to
tell me
talk
look
about
out.
volleyball.
My mom and sister, my sister Heather, that's the women's head coach, they are in Hawaii right now, so keep an eye out.
Look out for the other Olmsteads on the beach.
So, is it Verna says, hey, do you have any players on the volleyball team from Italy? Great volleyball
Davide
team.
Gardini right now is one of the best players in the country in Italy. He graduated about 2 years ago. And Davide was just out here a few months ago. He's finished in the top 10 last year in their professional league. Gabby's out there playing in Italy. But Davide is Italian, but Gabby's out there in Italy. So we've had quite a few.
Has some ties to Italy. There you go.
January brings the return of men's volleyball to the Smith Fieldhouse. It's unlike any other place when that ball gets served up into the air. BYU TV will have all the home games. We look forward to that. So let me ask you this as we move into what you got going on. 16-9 last year. In what ways are you prepared differently than last year when you were here on the show and getting ready for another season? You've had a lot of seasons. Do you do the same thing, or do you do things different?
No, I mean, I think each season is unique, right? Where you try to maximize the team that you have.
Yeah.
And so right now, I believe that most coaches like to think that we've got a decent feel for how our guys are, but we really don't know until the whistle blows in that moment in those competitions. And then we get to start to navigate kind of what we've got. Last year, our team was really, really, really good. Like we went into the MPSF tournament. That is the tournament before the Final Four. Our RPI, our ranking was 4. That was just as high. There was, I think, one other MPSF team above us. We were above the likes of Hawaii. We were above, I think, 2 or 3 other teams that went to the Final Four. So we started that tournament. Granted, we lost right off the bat. That killed us. A 5-set loss to USC at their place. But that was a team that we really were like, man, we loved the guys. Like, we loved this group. We knew we had some good players, but we just did not really, really know what we'd have. And those guys just developed a culture together that was, there's no doubt in my mind, they won matches based on the team that they were.
Yeah.
Like, really. And so this year, I think we're trying to, I believe that culture is still in our team.
So
and
it's
I think,
carried over.
Yeah, and so we've got more experience with the guys coming back. And we've added some really important pieces to our team.
When you talk about MPSF, the league that you guys play in volleyball, it's the only team that's not in the Big 12.
Yes.
But the MPSF, Mountain Pacific Sports Federation, it's the SEC for football. Like, maybe
100%.
it's better.
Yeah.
Like, is it not better than the SEC is in football?
Yeah, I will say here, let me like take my BYU, like the coach hat off, that I will say that a few years ago, it was better. Now, remember, the Big West split off.
Right.
So I agree with you. You're right. And that was all because there was no denying that.
At that point,
way worse. It was just night in and night out. So now we lost a Long Beach State. We lost a Hawaii.
National level
We
programs.
lost an Irvine. But we're still playing with the UCLAs, who's
USC.
now won the national championship. USC. Pepperdine, Stanford, Grand Canyon was in a Final Four.
People don't know how good Grand Canyon is. It's a great
they were
program.
in the Final Four, and so yes, we're the SEC. I would agree.
Right.
Stronger. Yeah, we used to be, but it was a bummer to lose those teams. But
Yeah.
we're going to be able to get to play at Irvine, Hawaii, Santa Barbara.
Playing those teams in non-conference.
Yeah. So we get a chance to go up against them.
As we study your roster, 3 seniors stand out: Luke Benson, Mix Romanus, and Tion Taylor. Benson and Romanus, honorable mention All-Americans. Taylor was all MPSF. Tell us about these. Are these the big 3?
Yeah. They're going to be a big part of it, and those are guys that it's funny to look at him as a coach, because you just look back, and I've got a picture of Mix. We traveled him when he was a redshirt, and we went to the national championship. And we've got a team photo in front of the banner. Tom Homo's there, and Brian, and all those guys. And there's little Mix. He's a little skinny kid, and he was a redshirt. And so it's on my wall, and I joke with him every time. And he's big, strong kid that's going to go play pro when he's done. He's played internationally over the summer for his country. He's Latvian, and so he's got that passport, and so he goes over there and plays with them. And Luke Benson is just another kid that I remember watching, when the members of the church were down in Newberry Park telling me about this kid when he was a freshman in high school and sophomore, and I remember going to watch him at that age, and now here he is at the end of his career. It's kind of wild, and Tion's just been a huge piece of our team, of our culture.
Yeah.
That's a kid that nobody talked to. He went on his mission. I still ignored him for almost 2 years because he didn't even play club volleyball. Yeah. He wouldn't play on Sundays. He was a basketball player, played for Noah Hartsock in Vegas. But as soon as I finally sat down and looked at this film that his mom and family were begging me, I mean, we get a lot of those emails every day. Every coach down at BYU does.
Right.
And I kind of just, okay, no club volleyball. No, nothing. The kid's coming to BYU already. He's already admitted. We'll get to that. And it was a connection that his mom called my former secretary, who used to work with his mom in Vegas, and just said, please, if you could do me one favor. And so here she comes, and bless her heart, she's like, Shawn, do you mind just doing this? I know I hate to ask. And I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. I know I've got a lot of notes from him.
Sure.
I'll do it. oh, okay, whoa, this kid is an unbelievable athlete, but very, very raw at volleyball. And so he was coming to BYU anyways. We're like, hey, let's meet with him. Kid, look, T, we call him T. You come hang out, but this is going to be way above your head, way out of your league. And it was right off the bat. But you saw a kid that everyone wanted to be around. You saw a kid that was willing to do whatever. And really, when kids say that, I'll just say very few kids really know what that means.
Right.
Because you're not going to practice with us. You're not going to be able to get the reps you think you should get or you've used to getting in club in high school because we can't give you those reps. So kids don't know what that means. And this was a kid that did it, never asked questions, never, ever. And, before you know it, boom. Man, this guy in practice every day, he's out playing our starters.
When you first had him in the gym, how long did it take for you to go, okay, he's raw, but whoa. Like, if we develop this kid, he's a crazy athletic talent.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to go, okay, like if he keeps on this trajectory, like he's gonna be really good?
Yeah, it's probably like let's think about it. He came at the end of August, when school starts, and I remember the moment. It was in a warm up for a match, and I was with another coach, and we'd already started discussing things, but this coach made a comment, and he's like, who the heck is that kid? and Tion would get to dress out, right? He would never play, but he'd get to dress out. And so he'd be out there warming up and hitting balls and doing the warm up. And I was like, yeah, that's T, and it was kind of like in that moment. So it was like a combination of somebody from the outside going, whoa, because sometimes when you're around them every day, those moments, like they kind of just build up slowly, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so I remember that. And it was John Spera, the former USA national team coach and now the president of USA Volleyball. He was at UCLA and he was like, who is that kid? I've never seen this kid. Oh yeah, that's Tion. And it was kind of like, it was that moment. So 7-8 months.
Wow.
And so it was pretty quick, but we still never played him probably for about a year or more when he finally beat out a kid that'd been starting for us for a while.
So we're going to see a lot of T this season.
Yeah, T's awesome.
Yeah, and
T's unbelievable.
I love it. Man, dude can get off the floor.
And he can get up. And he can get up. Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. Is it Keone or Keone?
Keone.
Keone.
Yeah.
So Keone Film comes from Hawaii. He joined the roster from Hawaii.
Yeah.
What does he bring to this group?
No, he brings a lot of experience. I mean, he came from a team that won the national championship. He was there with them. He comes from a long line of volleyball. So his grandpa is the former assistant here at BYU, the former head coach at the University of Hawaii that actually won a national championship in 2000, I think it was after us, so maybe 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And very, very good friends with Carl McGowan, one of Carl's best friends. That's who Carl went and coached with when he retired here. He went and would go spend the off season in Hawaii. That's Mike Wilton. This is his grandson. And so he and my dad were non-members playing volleyball at the former Church College of Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
Before it was BYU Hawaii.
Yeah.
And they were good. P.D. Velasco was an All-American. They were beating UCLA and other teams. And so Mike Wilton and my dad were teammates. And so Keone brings a lot of experience. Well, really a baller, a volleyball guru, just in the gym, on the court, in the sand, wherever, and he brings a really good arm, a really good serve. And so just a really, really good volleyball player, like pretty high volleyball IQ, I'd say.
I interviewed him on BYU Sports Nation. He's got a great personality.
Did that go okay? Did that go well?
Yeah, and he fits the volleyball vibe, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, was that when he had his mullet or he shaved it off?
I'm trying to remember.
It's a buzz cut now.
It's a buzz cut now?
But there was a moment he had a nice little honor code approved mullet.
Honor code approved.
When you talk about he has a great serve, and when I come, we always sit right in that baseline by Bruce Nilsson. Everybody,
I see you guys right there every time.
He heckles the other team but very creatively. Nothing offensive.
Totally.
Just like he just killed, and they always turn around and look. I'm like, dude, you're getting to him.
Yeah.
And he says like, hey, whatever you do not focus on that dude with the shaggy hairdo on the front row over there because you're going to hit it long.
Yep.
And he'll just say stuff like that, and and it gets to him.
Yep.
Cracks me
Bruce.
up. But being there, I get to see the serves coming from the other side right at me, you know. And some folks serve, it's almost like a knuckleball where the ball's like doing this. You know, I'm like, how in the world do you return that or pass that, right?
Yep.
Then others are hitting things with spin on it where it's coming, it's just diving down. You think it's going to be out, it's diving down into the floor. Do great servers, do they have a multitude of things that they can do, or does somebody get good at one thing and they just dominate with it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, some do, but the great servers are like a great pitcher where I can get you with my fastball over and over and over, and then I can hit you with the changeup, or I can get the inside of the plate. You know, they can do that. Yeah. No, and in general, though, I will say that I guess we don't change it up as much as a baseball pitcher would. And so the guys, Keone's going to bring a fast serve. Yeah, you're gonna enjoy watching him serve now, because you know, I'll be honest, it's faster than we've had the last few. We've had guys that could touch the same speed that he can get, but not guys that do it at the consistency that Keone does.
And to hit it that fast, does he have to have top spin on it so the ball dives?
Yeah, he's going to jump up, and he's got top spin, and he's got a good control on the wrist and a good toss so that it kind of accelerates that. And so our serving top to bottom this year, you'll notice, because you're there, right there on the, you know, at the end line, you'll notice that, hey, this is different than last year, and I can say that. The guys have shown that they're doing that. That comes with experience and those things. And then you've got some guys that, you're right, like their specialty is the contact on that ball. And you just see that thing.
I can see the lace. I can see the seams on the ball, and the ball's coming at me. It's going like this. I'm like, I could not return that.
I did not. As a player, I didn't matter how hard you hit it. I didn't think twice about it. Those were the ones. There was one guy that anytime we played him when I was playing, they literally hid me, and I'm a libero. I have to be able to pass. They would hide me because that serve frazzled me, and it was just this like, and I would get aced, and so I was like, oh, here he is, Shawn, and I'd go stand on the sideline, try to hide. We'd kind of hide me. So
yeah, that's fun stuff. BYU men's volleyball head coach Shawn Olmstead's on the Wise Guys live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Shawn is 241-76 for his career with both the men's and women's programs. That makes him among the most successful coaches
Did you know
in the game today.
I kid you not. No, I would have not.
241.
He's coached BYU teams. It gets better. He's coached BYU teams to 7 Sweet 16s, 5 Final Fours, and 4 championship games. And your team today is number 6 in the new preseason poll. Yeah. Nice job.
Yeah, I think that's right where we want to be. And I just found that out, I kid you not, probably a half an hour before I pulled up here. So I didn't know it during practice. I don't keep track of
6
those
is
things.
good.
No, I think that's a wonderful place to be. And my guys are going to know that. The guys right now, I know what they're doing. They're joking right now in the locker room because we finished practice and then ate together. They're in the locker room going, hey, let's make bets on what Shawn's going to say tomorrow. Because they know me. And they know my
It doesn't matter what we're like.
No, it's just going to say, hey, this is a great place to be. We're right where, you know, we can just do our thing, and that's what we're going to do.
Who would you consider to be your rival? Is it UCLA, USC, or is it still Hawaii, even though you haven't played them and they're coming here for the first time in a long time?
I think a couple of those, I think, of course, UCLA, because UCLA, that goes back to Carl and Al Skates. And I can say it openly that they did not get along, and it was not good. And when Carl passed at his funeral, the last words from his son, Chris McGowan, at the end of his speech was forever I can't recall exactly, but it's pretty close to forever it's okay to hate UCLA. I mean, and that was it. And that was like, thank you guys for coming, we're out, you know, but so that's always, we've played them multiple times in the national championship.
Beat them last year.
Yeah. And we were the only team in conference up until the MPSF final that beat them last year. You know, Grand Canyon ended up beating them in the championship. We beat them here at home. We took them to 5 the next night. And so it's always been good. And Hawaii, just, with COVID, we lost sight of scheduling and we worked on it, but it just couldn't come together. But we're back on. We're back on board this year. They're coming here, and we'll probably keep that. I hope, and I plan to keep that going every single year, back and forth.
You have them on a 2-game swing, January 31st and February 1st here. How important is it? Like you said, you want to keep it going.
100%.
Because that's just such a good,
Yeah.
like we always say in basketball, they got to keep the San Diego State thing alive, right?
Yep.
Because that's a big out-of-conference rival. Is Hawaii the one that's most important to keep as an out-of-conference now?
Oh, man. Yeah, very well could be. Now, there's a couple schools that are like my good friends. And so, an Irvine.
Yeah.
I always enjoy, selfishly, going back to Santa Barbara, where I'm from.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Santa Barbara.
But Hawaii, and let me tell you why, is because of the fan base there. That so many members of the church that love the game, so many alum that have come this way for the football program, for the volleyball program. That's a really, really important place to go, that I think that when they find out that we're coming, that's a big deal to them. And that means a lot to me. And so I always want to do that. I'm never going to be a coach. I never have, never will, that, well, we don't want to come back to you. Like, no, heck yeah, let's go. Let's play. Let's go every other year.
I'm envisioning that night where for Keone, full house.
Yeah.
And he's on the other side.
Yeah.
And what are you going to say to him to just keep his feet on the ground?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably I need to figure out something, but no, he's excited about that, of course, as anybody would be, right? And so we've talked about it a little, but he's really been actually really mature the times we've discussed it. That, hey, Shawn, at the end of the day, that those matches are not the end all be all for me. Our team's going to have still 3 months to play after that. And that's what matters. And I know, of course, who doesn't want to win? Don't get me wrong, but you're right. Like we gotta be in the right place for this group. And he's a big part of our team this year. So he needs to be there.
Yeah. You got USC coming in to the field house this year in March. You're on the road at UCLA. You guys mentioned UCLA.
Yep.
You play them down there in April. As you look at the overall schedule, and now there's rankings are out, kind of have an idea. I mean, we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But we have an idea of who's good and who's not. How do you feel about the overall layout of the schedule right now?
Yeah, here's what I told the guys as I put together the schedule, and I do it. I do it all. A lot of other sports, you've got assistants really involved, and some sports you've got admin doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably always do it. I think my sister Heather does hers, and we're a different sport than the basket. There's not these big $1 million contracts, right? Buyout. But as I put together the schedule, I believed that we were going to have a good group, that I wanted to put them in a position to be challenged so that they'd be their best at when we need to be at the end of April. And so with that being said, I do remember a moment a few months ago where I went, oh man, dang. Like, Shawn, you might have really...
You think you overscheduled?
And I told my guys that. And whether, maybe they take that as a, chip on their shoulder, they're going to be put my picture up in the locker room, but we're starting at Ohio State.
Yeah. Next week?
Next week.
Yeah, hear me out. This week, this
the 10th
couple
and 11th,
days,
right?
We fly out on, we're going this weekend.
Oh, that's right. The home opener is the 10th.
Sorry, home opener.
No, that's right. It is this weekend.
We're leaving on Thursday. And so we've got at Ohio State for 2. We've got at Ball State. They are really good.
Yeah.
And they're a team with a few All-Americans back. We've got Irvine. I voted Irvine number 2 in the country.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And so we're at Irvine. Then we've got Hawaii here. And then we've got on the road in our conference, UCLA. So, I looked at it and I was like, oh man, all right. And so the guys, I told the guys, I was open with them, guys, there's a part of me that feels like I did. And then pretty quickly I go, hey, why not? And I think we've got a good group that can handle it. We have more depth than we had last year. So that's good as you go into a schedule like this. And so I'm to be totally honest, I'm really, really excited about it because I think it's going to be what we need to do and should be doing. And a lot of people might look at it differently. But, that's just kind of how I'm looking at things.
Bill on the stream says volleyball in the Smith Fieldhouse is hands down the best show in town. St. Where are we at? St. Thomas Aquinas is the opener January 10th and the 11th. So
who said that, Bill?
Yeah, Bill on the stream.
You need to come find me, and I'll give you one of these sweatshirts that we're gonna show off here pretty soon.
Nice job,
Ken
Bill.
Stevens says BYU ranked number 6 in the preseason poll. I love it, and I love volunteering at the volleyball games. So
You're amazing.
Describe the vibe when your team takes the floor in the field house, and the folks will be there, the students will be back, the place will be bananas on January 10th. But what's the vibe you feel?
The funny thing is you guys have been to these events. Volleyball's always, we've had the vibe.
Yeah.
Like recently in basketball, it's become such an event. The opening, the dropping the curtains, all that. But it's weird because the volleyball's kind of just always been that, because you're right there.
Yeah.
And we've always had such a great group of just supporters. Our fan base has been so strong and always there. And so it's kind of funny because I go to these other events, and don't get me wrong, BYU, man, we've really just nailed it. Hit a home run out of the park in every event we host. Mm-hmm. And credit to all those people that do that. But it's kind of like we've been there, but we're so close. It's just like nowhere else. There's nowhere else. There's no other stadium that packs it like us. The only one is Hawaii. But even Hawaii, it's like, BYU, it just feels like you're right there on top of you, because Hawaii, you've got a big state basketball stadium. Smith Fieldhouse is here, and it's just like, right there.
Yeah. Everybody's on the end lines.
Yeah.
And the music, it's like the fans get it too. They understand what the vibe's supposed to be. They can be really intense, an intense time in the game, and support the team. But now there's a timeout, and they got the music going, and everybody's dancing. It's just like a party.
Yep.
It's a 3-hour party or a 2-hour party. Hopefully it's a 2-hour party because you sweep them, right?
There we go.
Or a 3-hour party if it's a five sets, but or 5 games. But it's just like the fans understand what's expected of them at BYU.
Yeah. No doubt.
And they play the part better than any place I've ever seen in volleyball. Is that
100%? And we, our tickets go on sale and they're gone. Yeah. And that's a credit. I can never, I take every opportunity I can to thank the supporters. They're the best, and take care of them, and whatever I could ever do, I can't tell you how many home games I've been at where my seats are right behind, my own personal seats are right behind our bench. And I'll know that my wife couldn't make it for some other reason. And I'll send my secretary, hey, see those people up there? Looks like there's a couple, hey, go run up and will you grab them and tell them they can come and sit right there? I do that almost every game. When I have extras, that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Because the fans are just amazing, and so they know what's going on.
Well, and they love you too. Bill says, by the way, I'm a longtime season ticket holder for men's and women's volleyball. I'll find you at the home opener.
Let's go.
Bill, just don't go during a timeout. So it's got to be before.
Hey, remember we talked about chill, Sean? Yeah, do that well before the game.
No, Bill,
or
I got
after
you.
the game,
Bill.
Not during
anytime.
a timeout, please.
There we go.
All right, before our fashion show.
Well, let me say one thing though.
Okay.
Because the fans need to do this. I'm going to tell you guys something that is one of the coolest things you're going to hear tonight.
Okay.
What's the guys you were talking about him on our team? Keba?
Oh, Keba.
I don't know if you guys know, but his brother is one of the best. Now, let me say best volleyball players right now in the world.
We have heard this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's over in Europe, right?
Yeah. But you've got.
Do we have a chance to get him?
No, because he's done.
He's done.
I mean, he's older, and but it's his brother, and he's literally like breaking records in the Italian league right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, anyways.
5 questions is presented by Strategy Square.
We want to do a fashion show?
We can do it before.
I'm not in a rush unless the streamer, they want to kick us out of the house. They want to get us out.
Should we do the fashion show before 5 questions, or should we do it after?
Let's do the fashion show first.
Okay.
So
we're going to do 5 questions in a moment.
Okay. And by the way, so Heather, the only reason she ever comes on the show is because you make her.
By the way, she has an awesome time when she comes on.
But then she comes on and she realizes she doesn't hate us.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's what she says before. She said, hey, I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff. All right? Okay. Have we seen the stuff?
No, and I don't really care.
You know what you do? You bring the stuff.
I got you.
I have to say, it was before a game, and I was walking behind the bench over to the seats. I have same seats for women's too that we sit with Bruce. And I saw her, so I grabbed her shoulder. I go, hey, Heather. She's like, hey, Blaine. I was like, whoa.
She's got her game face on.
Okay, we're like 30 minutes before the game. Note to self, don't bug Heather before a game. But then after the game, I saw her, and they won.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Heather. She's like, give me a hug. Hey. I was like, whoa, Heather's intense.
Yes. Yep.
So,
All right, so roll out the latest and greatest.
No, I took a bunch of, I mean, this is old school BYU, but I tried to get it kind of this bright blue, and I can't remember what this is called, so it's embroidered, you know, it's.
And that is,
nice.
By the way, that is a logo that we had on the sweatshirts back when I played.
There you go.
Like, so that's 80s.
Now,
that's
can fans
80s.
buy that, or is
No.
this just the team?
No, I did all these.
Okay.
I mean,
Sweet.
And then we
You
put
had
a
these custom done.
Yeah, I mean, we got
And it
the
says
men's
MVB,
volleyball
so men's volleyball in the corner.
On
Look
the
at that.
corner.
Oh, yeah.
That is sweet.
You folks listen on the podcast, just envision some of this really cool stuff. But on the stream here, we're seeing it firsthand. All right.
And then we put the state of Utah
Nice.
right there.
Oh, yeah. And MVB, men's volleyball,
MVB.
right on the chest.
And the BYU logo. Then we've just got some hoodies.
And then you just come up with these? It's just in the middle of the night, or what?
No. I mean, there's our graphic design people, but I was like, hey, I want to do this.
You want one with the Utah logo
I've never
on
seen
it.
that.
And this is like traditional.
This is traditional, yeah. Nothing
awesome.
special.
Yeah, it's cool.
This one, but I brought. This isn't anything special, but just whoever you guys do with it what you want.
This is awesome.
Our whole wardrobe just changed.
I took the men's volleyball there, the Utah
in the
right
state
there.
of Utah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and then I
cool.
got a different size in that.
Nice.
And then I've got a bunch of hats for you
And
guys.
this has the baby cougar on it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The baby cougar. And these hats are sweet too.
That's awesome.
So,
Thank you for
Shawn,
that.
you always bring.
And whenever you guys need, if I don't have a size that, hey man, Shawn, I really like that. All you got to do is send me a text.
I love that.
And you got it. You can come by
awesome.
my office. I've got all these upstairs, and you guys can come by anytime.
That's awesome.
We're excited for the new season, and we love the success that your family has brought to BYU volleyball, both with Heather and you, and
I love Heather, just not 30 minutes up till game time.
just the.
I really do love her, but wow.
We got you.
So listen, here's what we're going to do now to roll out 5 questions presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. Owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping wise guys conquer the world. And you can reach Chantal at strategysquare.co. Another Cougar making a difference in the world. So what we thought, we did our top 10 stories of the year, and we thought we'd hit you up for your top 5 stories on campus. Now, if you don't want to pick favorites,
hard.
you can just do 5 in no particular
order.
We were precise in the order of number 10 to number 1, but we thought the 5 on your mind here at the end of the year.
And we can write them down, and then we can decide if one should be higher than another. You know?
Okay.
Or you
so
can decide.
So you got to put the national championship with Diljit and Ed and
Right.
what they've done. And I'm just throwing out a few things.
So Ed and that. So it's cross country dual championships.
And because of the impact, I sincerely believe Chase Roberts, an ambassador for the church, for the team coming back. That's my guy. He's my boy. I've known that kid forever, and I love the kid to death. And I think he is the greatest human being. And I'll share something with you guys, and I'll try not to get emotional. But on Sunday, I walked out to my car, and Chase was outside getting in his car on not yesterday, but the Sunday before. So this is right before the bowl game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I come out, and I've got a tree, so I could see Chase's truck, and I could see that my wife was talking to him. And I was like, Chase, I start kind of screaming. It's my person, happy. And I was like, what's up, dude? You're coming back. Finally, you listened to me, and your dad did. And Chase wasn't saying anything back. And I was like, Chase, I come around the tree. I'm like, dude, I'm so happy for you. I could just tell that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And he and his dad, Kyle, who's a former football player, they were hurrying out to be able to see Chase's grandma before she passed. And that was a very, very big, important person in his life. And he knew that he literally, that young man had 3 hours to see her that Sunday and fly to California. Oh. And to be there for 3 hours to then catch a plane back to be at practice. So that was just the sun. And so my thoughts and prayers with the Roberts. But anyways, football's got to be on there, right? I mean, football's got to be on there.
Chase got banged up in that game too.
Yeah.
Not sure
he
though.
He hit on his shoulder. He had a sling on. He looked okay. I saw he landed. He landed on his elbow. So I'm not gonna. I was thinking maybe a little AC separation or something, and he'll be fine.
So football. When you say football, are you saying as a whole,
like the 11-2 season?
I just kind of have to say the whole. You guys were at the games. And I'll tell you what, there was just a vibe and an energy and an excitement that we all saw and felt. And so it's me kind of saying it as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah. There was
two
another
more.
one.
So national championship, Chase Roberts return, which is huge. Football 2024.
Yeah. The hiring of Kevin Young. Now, they've got to look at their team, right? Look at all the wonderful things. But if you think about, I heard you guys kind of discussing how all that occurred. Remember that?
Right.
Remember, what the heck is going on? We're losing Mark Pope. Boom. Tom Homo, Brian Santiago, those guys had a plan immediately. It was executed to a T. Mm-hmm. And who would have thought at the moment that Kevin Young signed his name on that dotted line that all of a sudden we're on every sports page everywhere? I mean, I knew he was with the Suns. I knew he had a relationship. But did that not change things? I mean, that right there was massive.
Steve Cleveland was sitting right where you were, a couple of days before, and he was running down the list of candidates, and he said at the last, and then there's this Kevin Young from the Suns, and we're just like, who? 100%. And then we went to research him, and I didn't know he was on the planet.
Steve knew all about him.
Yep.
And he actually said, why couldn't they get Kevin Young? And we all just, once we researched him, we're like, there's no way. He's going to have $7 million a year on the table for him with the Nets. Mm-hmm. There's no way he's coming here.
Yep. And bang, here he is.
And he was here.
Boom.
And he said, you guys, everybody doesn't understand my own priorities. I've got kids. I want them in an environment that's conducive for their growth and their all of that. Like, there's things more important than money. There's plenty of money here. Why can't this be my dream?
Yeah, 100%.
And we're all like, wow.
Yeah.
So do you package everything that's gone on with him as one?
Yeah.
So was it Kevin Young in basketball?
I struggle with AJ. Like, don't get me wrong. It should, like, I get it, but like the kid, he hasn't come on campus yet, right? Yeah. So it's like, but I agree with everything you guys said. I don't want you guys to not hear it. So I think my Kevin Young is similar to the football, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, because when that hire occurred, and then again, it was the weeks and it was the days and weeks after that hire, where all of a sudden we're talking to these recruits that nothing against Coach Pope or anybody else.
That never looked its way.
They didn't. No. They didn't though. You know
what? It's interesting because Travis Hansen sat here a couple weeks ago, and we said, "What happened?" And he said, "Yeah, we were thinking too small." He goes, up until right now. So we brought a guy in from the outside who wasn't bound by any of the thought process, and we were thinking too small. You don't think too small. Like, you expect to put teams out there every single year that can compete for national championships. You expect to be able to get the top players in the country. That's the expectation because you built that on reputation.
Yeah.
He said, in basketball, I mean, this is no fault of anybody's. We just we're thinking we were bound too much and thinking too small.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right?
Something occurred, something happened right off the bat. And you know, I know that people, you know, online and all over are going to say, hey, NIL and this and that. And, you know, there's some of that you can't deny that. Right. But there was something about him identifying those kids, the right kids immediately. And I mean, what a benefit to have his brother right when he, you know, the position that he had when he got hired. Because it was like, you know, Kevin, I'm sure kept tabs on a few kids, but there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, that was a seamless transition. Like, boom, hey, bro, hit up this kid, this coach, this right now. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and for those when we've talked about it, but his brother is into analytics, recruiting, rating recruits, big recruiting. Like, he was plugged into all of that, right?
Yep.
All right, that's four. You got one more?
Man.
We could
so you got basketball and hiring, football, Chase Roberts, national championship, Ed and Diljit.
We got the Olympians.
Well, I mean...
Are you tying that into the track?
Yeah, if we tie it in, if you're going to make me tie it in, I would tie it in because the pub that those young men have brought to our campus community is massive. So, I don't know. I'd throw that out there. I guess I didn't think that.
Yeah.
And Connor and Clayton would be really high on my list because... of what they did. When you guys were tuning in to the Olympic Games, to the build-up, the qualification before the Olympics, those two guys who are, the most wonderful guys. If you run into them, they will stop, take time with you, chat with anybody. And what they represented, the camaraderie they represented with each other, the way that they built each other in those races and supported each other.
Oh, yeah. And ran next to each other.
And were equally as excited. And that all came back, that all came back to BYU. It all came back to where they came from. So I'm throwing them on there.
Yeah, I like that. I was looking
That's
to what
great.
other ones we had on here.
Those are good
What
ones.
else though do you have? I'm curious.
I'm telling you, when I think of track and field,
But what else do you guys have on? I want to see what else
we had
I'm
Lauren
missing.
Gustins. We had Lauren Gustins breaking the all-time rebounding record. And
Okay,
being,
yeah.
the fact that she even came back because
Sure,
she put herself
sure.
in the portal. Everybody wanted her.
We had a
100%.
couple
She
things.
was like Chase Roberts coming back.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
We had a couple things not combined, like the Alamo Bowl and what they did
For
Saturday
sure.
night
Yeah.
was its own
That-
thing.
That's true.
Whereas
That's
football
true.
was there, and
We tied it like we had Yegor Demmin and Cannon, but that's all part of basketball.
Yeah,
You got all
Yep.
of that. Yeah, I think
You're there.
we covered most of it. When I think of the whole track thing, Kenneth Rooks.
Oh, and then Kenneth. No, let me go back to Kenneth.
Yeah, that was the craziest.
Chad Lewis and I. Listen, hear this out.
Okay.
When did Kenneth come onto the scene? Was it
It's when he fell
okay?
in the
what-
steeplechase.
in the steeplechase
But that was the champion.
That was
it
in the
NCAA?
national
that's the
championships.
national
Okay,
championships.
so he falls. That's pub. I had
2
no
years
idea-
ago.
Yeah, I had
2
no
years ago.
idea who this young man was, and I see all those guys. They're in our weight room. We share the same weight
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
Chad Lewis and I are up on the top of Mount Timpanogos, like days later. And here comes this kid, and he's with who is his now wife, but he's got just a backpack on, and he's got a ball cap, and passes me. Let me think. Were Chad and I can't remember, but it was one or the other. We passed him twice, and I was like, "Hey, that's Kenneth Rooks," and he's just walking, and I kid you guys not, it's days after. And I'm like, Chad, and for whatever reason, we passed him again. And I was like, hey, Kenny or Kenneth, what the heck are you doing up here? Like we were it was Chad Lewis and I at the top of Tim. And, just doing, I kid you not, it was days later. And just on a walk with my girlfriend. They may have been engaged at the time, but yeah. Kenneth, gosh darn it, I forgot Kenneth.
And we clumped him in with track and field, but last year,
yeah.
when he fell in the
my
national
gosh.
championships, and he gets up, and he's against the best in the country.
100%.
And he gets up and wins. Like, that was a huge story nationally.
Think of starting a race at that level, firing the gun, and you tell a guy like, hey, hang out here for 10 seconds.
Hang back 20 yards.
Yeah.
Now
And,
you're
all
good.
right, ready, go. At that level, you don't catch each
It
other.
was one of the most
I
impressive
forgot.
individual performances
Darn it.
I've ever seen.
Sorry, Kenneth.
And then,
He's a
and then
good
he
guy.
He's
caps
good.
it off at the Olympic Games, where he's running
was unreal.
last in the pack, the whole thing. Nobody's even talking about him.
Yep.
And the announcer, I love when he like slingshots himself up, and the announcer's like, who is this?
Yep.
And then he gets up with a guy that's the world record holder,
Yeah.
and he says, and the guy's saying, hey, Kenneth Rooks.
No, seriously.
Who are you?
Yep.
What's interesting?
Silver medalist.
Yeah,
It's
unreal.
crazy.
The cool
Unreal.
thing about the student athletes that you deal with, if we were to say, all right, let's list the top 50 student athletes at BYU, and then once we got to like say 30, there'd be a debate over every spot
Yeah.
because there are so many amazing stories. I don't know how you'd come up with one. I don't even know how you'd come up with 20. Because every sport you start going, what about, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, bang, bang,
Absolutely.
bang. Just look at
And
cross
so
country,
many
just
of
the
them
list keeps going.
have those beautiful, wonderful stories. And
Yeah.
BYU's done a great job of covering them, the
Right.
deep blues.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many out there. So
Yeah, there's like I love Canada. There's so many great, like Jake Retzlaff, and you talk about publicity. Him being a man of the Jewish faith to come in here
yeah.
and wear his faith on his sleeve,
Totally.
and like that's been a national story.
absolutely.
And so there's been so much good light shed on BYU this year.
Yeah,
that's what's
100%.
fun. Yeah, that's what's
Now,
Absolutely.
you should know that our favorite player on your team remains Jared Brady, and
There
will
we go.
always be
Yeah, 'cause
There we
his
go.
dad-
my
his
right
dad
fielder
sponsors-
from
dad
the
sponsors this
Yeah.
show.
Piccoli Little League.
He coached him. He was in
I
my
just
ward.
saw. Is that Brady? Is that his company?
That's his company.
Jared's
Brady,
dad.
what's Brady Plus? though?
Brady Plus, they expanded to, they're all over North America. What's Brady Industries?
No, I remember that
What,
because I talked to him about that.
Plus
Okay.
all these other things.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
And so they're on board with us, and they're awesome,
Awesome.
for a million
Dave
reasons.
coached him in Little League,
Yeah.
and then when he came back from his mission, he was in I was in the
Yep.
Bishop Brick up on campus, and
Yep.
he came into my ward, and so we're all tied to the Brady's,
Yeah.
right?
He got married. All that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was a great wedding. When he got that into the season. He was in the game and got a point, and we sent it all over social media. We're like, that's our guy.
That's it. There he is.
So give Jared our best when you see him.
Absolutely.
Good luck against the Buckeyes later this week.
Yep, we'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. You're welcome here anytime. We'll see you at your place.
I'll bring more goods.
Yep. And if there's anything that ever needs to be out there that you tell us about, just tell us. We'll get it on the show. We'll get on the show.
You guys are awesome.
Great, Shawn Olmstead, ready to. Now you're officially ready to begin a new season.
Yep.
Thank you, Coach.
You're gonna have the wise guys good karma for
Thanks,
sure.
guys.
So, thanks, Shawn.
BYU at Ohio State later this week, and of course January 10th and 11th. The home opener at the Smith Fieldhouse. If it's not sold out already, it probably will be. And if you're in the Rock, get there early, and it'll be quite the scene. That was great. We love having him on. That's why we say he's the coolest guest we get.
He is always
he's just so good. And he brings us stuff which we love.
And you know what I love is that Shawn can be he's just fun. And but he has a level of intensity when it comes game time that he knows how to walk. It's game time. It's Shawn lock-in time, and he forces those guys to lock in. But he is chill. And when he's not, and he's so fun, and he appreciates everything around him. He has tremendous gratitude, which I love about Shawn.
In our final minutes together, let's roll over some campus notes. BYU basketball is 9-2. Yegor Demon, Richie Saunders will both return tomorrow. Demon missed 3 games. Saunders missed 1. The Big 12 opener, Arizona State, is here. It's 2 o'clock Mountain Time in the afternoon on ESPN2. Pre-games at 1 on BYU TV. You'll be there for that. BYU is at Houston. Houston's number 15. That's Saturday at high noon Mountain Time, so you can watch it on ESPN Plus. Next home game is Texas Tech. The Red Raiders are 9-2. Everybody's good.
Yeah, everybody's good in the league.
That's on January 7th. And, we got to thinking, could Yegor and AJ play together next season? Because Yegor told us, I didn't ever say I was a one and done.
Yeah, and he said, all of my friends are blowing up my text with.
So I wrote about it at Deseret.com. There's a few things in there I think you'll like, but that article's in there today.
He didn't commit that he was coming back either, though.
No, he didn't. He just said, we'll see.
He goes, I don't know, we'll see.
But he could. So. And then that opens up the world of possibilities.
Yeah, let's talk about the AP Top 25 in basketball, because the Big 12 is always very present in that. How about Iowa State being the highest ranked Big 12 team? Very good. What a great football season for them. With a win over Miami last week, and they're number 3 in the country right now in basketball. Kansas is at number 7. Houston, you just mentioned, at 14. Cincinnati checks in at 16. Baylor's at 25. And then receiving votes are West Virginia, Arizona State, and Texas Tech. So
that's half the league.
There you go.
Big 12 play actually started today. 8 teams were in action, so it's the weather's changed, right?
There you go.
Winter is here, and BYU gets going tomorrow afternoon, which is New Year's Eve day. Great time to play a game.
Yes,
the Rock's not here yet, so the regulars are going to have to make up some noise.
It's a little bit weird, so everybody's going to have to be on their best.
Women's basketball's 9-3, 0-1 in the Big 12. This week they're at Cincinnati Wednesday at high noon, so New Year's Day at high noon, and then they're at number 14 West Virginia on Saturday at 4 Mountain Time. Both those games available on ESPN Plus and BYU Radio.
Hey, number 27 BYU Gymnastics. A season opener January 4th in Nashville, Tennessee. In that meet, number 1 Oklahoma, number 17 Auburn, and number 23 Nebraska. So that's quite the competition. The home opener will be January 17th against Southern Utah.
Baseball, it's that time of year. Season opener is February 14th. In a couple of days, we'll say that's next month.
Right.
As the calendar keeps moving. I'll be on the call for that one. The home opener is against Stetson March 5th. Weather permitting, as always, in March. On ESPN Plus with Gary Scheide and myself.
You got it. Softball season openers, BYU at UC San Diego. I'd like to spend some time in San Diego in February 6th. It's the first of 24 away games this season.
That's how they roll.
Yeah, the home opener is Idaho State on March 13th.
By the way, Trent Pratt, the baseball coach, and Gordon Eakin, the softball coach, will both be on the show here over the next few weeks as they get ready to fire back up. On this day, you ready to roll out?
Let's do this.
On our December 30th show, the last one of the year, 1922, a significant day. The Soviet Union was formed.
Right, USSR. Back in the USSR. Yeah. There's really has to be some song
Back
reference.
On this day, 1922.
1934, the Rangers and Bruins skate to a 0-0 tie. It was the first of a 37-game overtime undefeated streak for Boston, the longest in NHL history. It spanned 4 years and included 27 ties.
So they played 37 overtime games and didn't lose any of them over this streak.
for that many years. 27 ties.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
1963, Let's Make a Deal debuts on NBC with Monty Hall.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was around for a long time.
I can't believe it was around that long. 1967, the Great Western Forum opens in Inglewood, California, the home of the Los Angeles Lakers.
What do they do there now?
I don't even know. It's still
They have
there.
concerts, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe?
I think that's what they do. Yeah.
Speaking of back in the USSR, 1974 on this day, the Beatles are legally disbanded.
Does that mean that they signed a contract to break the group up?
That was officially.
We're done.
We're done.
Okay.
It's like the High Court came in and said, divorce granted, you're done.
Yeah. Hey, how about 1978? Ohio State fired legendary coach Woody Hayes.
Remember when he punched a kid?
Punched the Iowa kid the day before.
Because he was running past him or something.
And then the next day he was done. Wow.
Woody Hayes.
Yep.
On this day in 2018, Patrick Mahomes becomes just the second quarterback in NFL history to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in a single season. Beat the Raiders 35-3. Who was the first?
I know this already.
Because
I saw a show earlier. Peyton Manning, 2013.
So how about that company?
Yeah, that's nice company.
I'll tell you what Mahomes does, and he's Andy Reid's quarterback, and Andy was telling us about him over the summer, and they're now making a play for a third straight Super Bowl win.
That's the best record in the league.
And they don't score a lot of points.
They're 15-1.
They just score enough.
Yeah.
They haven't scored over 30 points in any game this season. They're 16-1.
They're very good on defense, and they take care of the ball.
And Mahomes knows how to win.
They don't turn it over. And if it's the end of the game and they have the ball, they win. So it's crazy. So December 30th, birthdays. We talked about last week. I've got two babies born in December,
Yeah.
Libby and Callan, both the 21st and the 23rd. So we celebrated those last week. But in 39 AD, Titus captured Jerusalem and completed the Colosseum in Rome.
So he was born, and that's what he did.
Yep.
And since a lot of folks have seen the Colosseum in Rome, that's why we're telling you Titus was born
39 AD on December 30th.
In 1865, on this day, Rodney Kipling was born. He's the author of the Jungle Book.
Yes. Mowgli. So 1928, Bo Diddley, the guitarist, was born.
Not the university that Bryant Gumbel didn't like.
Nope, he didn't like Bo Diddley Tech.
Now, and listen to this on this day, 1935, Sandy Koufax, the Dodgers pitcher, 7-time All-Star. And then the hits just kept coming.
Yeah, in 1975, December 30th, Tiger Woods.
And how about 1984, LeBron James?
December 30th was a big day for superstars.
Big day.
Arguably the greatest golfer in history. You can go with him or Jack Nicklaus. And arguably the best basketball, you can go with LeBron or you can go with Michael. I don't know. Maybe you could throw Magic in there. Let's talk about December 30th.
By the
deaths.
way, TR Play says Woody punched Charles Bauman of Clemson.
Was it
Iowa.
Clemson? Okay, we appreciate that. Triple play. Do you think TR Play is triple play?
It should be.
Triple play.
It's not.
So it was a Clemson player. Okay, I was thinking it was an Iowa guy.
Okay.
Out of league. So,
By the way, Michael says, and we don't usually do this, but it's the holidays. On December 29th, which was yesterday, 1927, his dad was born.
Cool.
So, hey.
There you go.
Happy birthday.
And John Franklin says, I got to miss a day of work for basketball the game tomorrow. It'll break my heart. I agree. Miss it. Hey, let's go deaths on December 30th.
1970?
Yeah. Sonny Liston, the former heavyweight champion of the world.
I had a friend in Vegas who was a friend of his, and that death was mysterious.
Yeah.
And it remains mysterious.
Every death in Vegas is mysterious.
And that one was especially. 2006, Saddam Hussein died on this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then in 2022, Barbara Walters passed away. Just a couple years ago on this
Our
day.
Wise Guy's inspirational quote of the week is from Alfred Lord Tennyson. Appropriate for this week.
So here we go. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year's going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true.
Out with the old, in with the new.
That's what it is. Out with the old, in with the new. Thanks.
Special thanks to Shawn Olmstead. It was fabulous. And if you missed any of it, it's waiting for you at wiseguys.com.
There you go.
Next week, Amber Whiting will be here, women's head basketball coach. And we got a few guests in the docket coming up over the next few weeks. 2025 is going to be our biggest year ever.
Yeah.
And when you think about the top 10 stories of 2024, which we revealed earlier tonight, just imagine what the top 10 stories are going to be for 2025.
And we'll be here to cover every one of them.
Every one of them.
We'll be here for
and
you.
And think about what they could be. AJ, where does he go? What did the football team do with a senior quarterback?
Yeah.
Baseball, softball.
Hey, this year, like basketball's already started.
What about this guy?
Could this year's basketball team surprise the world and win the Big 12 championship?
Yeah. Are they going to? Can they do better than 10-8 in the Big 12? Last year was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Here they come with a better team. The league's tough again. But what's cool is when we're sitting here next year at this time this week, we'll have a whole nother list of all these adventures that we don't quite know what's ahead. Yeah. And, one of them is going to be beating the Utes at LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Let's just put that on the list already.
So where can people find us this week? Well, tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the pregame show for Arizona State and BYU in basketball. I'll be there. Kristen Kozlowski and I and Jerem Jordan will be counting you in. And
then the game is at 2 on ESPN Plus. And I'll see you all week in the Deseret News. Right. Try to write some interesting stuff. New Year's Day is full of interesting football games.
Lots of great stuff to talk about next week.
And now we kind of watch them because the teams ahead of BYU that lose, you go, well, could BYU jump them? Was that win so impressive? Will they jump? Will they go higher than 14, 13, 12 in the final poll, which really puts them in position for the new poll in August?
There was already some teams in the college football playoff that all, and it's not just BYU folks, that people are going, yeah, BYU should have been there instead of that team. They're clearly this. They should have been there instead of that team. So we expect them to move up. Will there be more losses in the next 2 days where people go, that clearly they're better than them?
Probably.
And we'll see. They move up more than we think.
It's good to be in that part of the conversation then. See, I told you.
Yeah. See, they're no good. They lost to Colorado. They're the 4th best team in the league. So
Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. We wish you all a happy new year. And let's make 2025 the best.
Yep.
Best ever.
We'll be back here in 2025 next Monday night. Talk to you again.
That's right. Next year, huh?
See you next year.
Thanks, guys.